Success! The temperature by any bet is
29 degrees Celsius in Kingston and Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Roby Ann Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, the JTA is dismissing claims that it's not in support of the Jamaica Teaching Council bill.
The Prime Minister says his achievement of a doctoral degree has given him a new perspective on how to treat the problem of gun violence in Jamaica.
JFJ warns that the government is dangerously close to undermining judicial independence following amendments to the Child Care and Protection Act.
JFJ's position is that the Child Care and Protection Act ought not to be amended at all.
Police Commissioner says the process of procuring 1,000 more body-worn cameras is almost complete.
Sir Hilary Beckles urging regional governments to give the UWI full ownership of the lands it now operates on.
In news from the rest of the world, funeral of Adriana Young in Guyana postponed.
Trump considering 100% tariffs on movies not made in the United States.
In headline sports, one Jamaican named in West Indies' 15-man squad for one-day international tour of England and Ireland.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, the Police Commissioner Dr. Kevin Blake says the process to procure 1,000 additional body-worn cameras is almost complete.
We are at the final stages of procurement for those 1,000 cameras, and we have budgeted for 4,000, which includes the 1,000 that is in procurement now.
Chairman of Jamaicans for Justice, John Clark, will join us.
In Public Opinion at 6:26, we ask, how have Trump's tariffs affected your online shopping experience? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, the Jamaica Teachers Association says they support having a regulatory body, but they feel betrayed by the current Jamaica Teaching Council bill.
This bill must not be put into law in its current form. The teachers of Jamaica will not accept what we consider a betrayal.
The JTA President, Dr. Mark Smith, will tell us why.
At 7, Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, is calling on regional governments to invest more into the institution.
I well remember when the governments were funding 90% of our operational budget. And it's gone from 90 to 80 to 70, and now it's under 50.
You'll hear more from Sir Hilary's presentation at the UWI's annual council meeting.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app. It's available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Monday afternoon, it's Monday, May 5, 2025.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
And now to the details. President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, Dr. Mark Smith, is dismissing claims that the association is not in support of the Jamaica Teaching Council bill. Dr. Smith addressed the issue at a media briefing at the JTA's head office in downtown Kingston a short while ago.
We have no objection with the bill, and I reiterate that as I realize that there are sections within our society that seek to hijack the narrative. That is not true. I say it categorically. We support the concept of the bill. However, there are some critical issues that must be tackled to ensure that we do not heap injustice upon our teachers.
The Jamaica Teaching Council bill was passed in the Senate with bipartisan support 2 weeks ago. But just days after, the opposition PNP held a media briefing highlighting several flaws with the bill, which it says must be addressed. The JTA has also criticized the bill, claiming that several of their recommendations were ignored. According to Dr. Smith, the JTA supports the establishment of a regulatory body to advance the country's teaching profession.
The establishment of the council, and I want to put some historic background to this, the establishment of the council was also one of the recommendations in the 2004 Task Force report, a transform education system, presented to the then Prime Minister, the Most Honorable P.J. Patterson, and approved by Parliament at that time. The idea of establishing a regulatory body to advance the status of the teaching profession is fully supported by the Jamaica Teachers Association. The ultimate beneficiaries of such a system are our children, our learners. It is the society in its totality. And so we stand as willing partners, wanting to ensure that this bill is improved to the point where we can all sing Kumbaya.
Dr. Mark Smith, the president of the Jamaica Teachers Association.
Meanwhile, Dr. Smith says the regulations of the JTC bill are too punitive.
While we support the general intent and purpose of the legislation and the policy-making apparatus, the board of the council is not truly representative of the sector and the professionals it seeks to regulate. We assert that there can be no regulation without effective representation. The underlying principles of this act, unfortunately, its regulatory functions are far too restrictive, punitive, and rather than being corrective, enabling, and empowering of our teachers.
Dr. Mark Smith, JTA President.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says his achievement of a doctoral degree has given him a new perspective on how to treat the problem of gun violence in Jamaica. Holness recently became the first Jamaican Prime Minister to earn a doctoral degree. His degree focused on how U.S. gun laws impact violence in Jamaica. Speaking to Northeastern News following his conferment, Dr. Holness says he has been able to weave his learning into policy formation. Robian Williams reports.
The security forces have long said the gun is the preferred weapon of choice for those committing murders in Jamaica. Amid a near 37% decline in murders and the lowest monthly tally in 2 decades, the question of how best to sustain the downward trend has come to the fore. Armed with a Doctor of Law and Policy degree, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he now has a full picture of the problem that has plagued the country for the better part of 40 years. Dr. Holness told Northeastern News that having completed his degree, he now sees the country's gun violence problem through different lenses. The Prime Minister says he has been able to form a better understanding of the link between the existence of a diaspora and the flow of guns into Jamaica. According to a transcript of the interview given by Dr. Holness, 90% of the guns flowing into Jamaica come from the United States. He specifically named Miami, Atlanta, Texas, and New York as major sources from which guns enter Jamaica. The Prime Minister highlighted the fact that those areas have significant diaspora populations from Jamaica. Dr. Holness says this has led to a close monitoring of how current trade routes facilitate the flow of guns. The Prime Minister says while Jamaica has significantly improved detection and recovery of guns, the problem remains a significant threat to the country's national security. Dr. Holness has led a government that has made the most expansive investments in national security in more than 3 decades. He touted the investments while making his contribution to the recent budget debates.
In 2015, before my administration took office, capital expenditure for national security was $2.67 billion. By 2018, we increased the spending on security to $12.7 billion. And in 2019, we made a record $19.5 billion investment to modernize our security apparatus.
Prime Minister Holness says despite these improvements, more needs to be done from the U.S. perspective to stem the flow of guns. Robian Williams for Nationwide News. Human rights advocacy group Jamaicans for Justice JFJ is warning that the government is dangerously close to undermining judicial independence by interfering with the sentencing regime of children. JFJ is reacting to the Child Care and Protection Amendment Bill, which passed in Parliament last Tuesday. It now proposes that a child found guilty of capital murder faces a minimum of 15 years in prison before being eligible for parole. JFJ's Executive Director, Michael Jackson, accused the government of moving ahead with the changes despite calls for more consultations.
I can't say that they listened to some of the public commentary, but most of the public commentary had said, listen, don't move ahead with this. So the executive, by way of its cabinet, went with what they decided. Then it went to Parliament. There wasn't robust discussion. So what's the purpose then of governance is my question and my concern. If the courts are simply there with their hands folded, just rubber stamping ultimately what the cabinet has decided is the concern.
Ms. Jackson's comments support the opinion of attorney Bert Samuels. According to Samuels, the Parliament is taking over the role of judges. The 15-year adjustment represents a 5-year reduction from the previous 20-year proposal before parole. The amended bill also proposes that the judge determines the time served for children found guilty of non-capital murder. Ms. Jackson says the Child Care and Protection Act should have never been interfered with.
These proposed amendments will have far-reaching implications when it comes to things like prison overcrowding. JFJ's position is that the Child Care and Protection Act ought not to be amended at all. Within the current discourse that's happening, no mandatory minimum should be applied for children.
Mikkel Jackson, Executive Director of JFJ. She was speaking on the weekly JFJ-produced show Let's Talk Justice, aired on Nationwide 90 FM on Mondays.
The Police Commissioner, Dr. Kevin Blake, says the process of procuring 1,000 additional body-worn cameras is almost complete. This follows some hiccups with the procurement process, which started last year.
A procurement guideline can be a little bit tricky sometimes. There was a hiccup in it. If it were not for that hiccup, we would have had those cameras before December last year. That was the intention, and to have them deployed for the festive season. However, we are at the final stages of procurement for those 1,000 cameras, and we have budgeted for 4,000, which includes the 1,000 that is in procurement now, and we've budgeted 4,000 cameras over the next 3 fiscal years.
The issue of body-worn cameras has become a talking point in recent weeks, prompted by calls from Jamaicans for Justice JFJ. That issue sparked the JFJ-led End Police Violence protest in Halfway Tree St. Andrew last Thursday. Commissioner Blake insists that the JCF is not opposed to the use of cameras by the police during planned operations, but he says the equipment now being procured is for police personnel involved in daily public order activities. He says those needed for operations are specialized devices and will take some time to acquire.
Of course, we are going to be putting cameras, and we are looking at specing them out, procuring them. The thing is, we have to bear in mind that those specialized cameras are not the same as the cameras that we're buying now in terms of cost and capability, and they're made specifically for that. There's a thing about body-worn camera. It's called body-worn camera because it's worn on your body. And in intense operation, sometimes our incident is your body that you first take out of the line of fire with the camera. And so many times the footage from the body-worn camera doesn't help. As a result of that has led to more advanced type cameras with that bears in mind that reality. And so it is not about just buying some cameras and putting it on persons.
Dr. Kevin Blake, the police commissioner. The JCF already owns over 750 body-worn cameras. Over 670 are in daily use, while others are being used for training purposes. More than $100 million have already been spent to purchase body-worn cameras. You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Celebrate 26 years with IQ Optical. Enjoy 26% off your prescription eyewear and sunglasses this month only. Book your appointment or take your prescription to IQ Optical in New Kingston, Manor Park, or Drexel. Conditions apply. The time by IQ Optical is...
It's 14 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
29 degrees Celsius in Kingston and Montego Bay.
win with love. This Mother's Day, use your JMMB Money Transfer prepaid Visa card between April 21 to May 30, 2025 for a chance to win one of 3 $15,000 Fontana gift certificates, plus cash back from paying toll and shopping with your card. But that's not all. Participate in this promotion and enter to win your share of a $2 million grand prize in the Win with Love promotion, ending on June 31, 2025. Receive money anytime, 24/7, using Visa Direct through MoneyGram, Zoom, or Remitly, or directly with Ria and Zoom. Visit jm.jmmb.com/money-transfer for full details on how to enter and win. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act. Conditions apply.
Continuing the news, Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Sir Hilary Beckles, is urging regional governments to give it full ownership of the lands its campuses operate on. Sir Hilary renewed the call while reviewing the 2023-2024 academic year during the UWI's annual University Council meeting last week at its St. Augustine campus in Trinidad. Mahiri Stewart has that story.
The Vice-Chancellor's report covering the past academic year was titled Regionally Respected, Globally Celebrated. Sir Hilary Beckles compared UWI to universities in North America that have total ownership over their real estate.
We continue to leverage in the year in review our assets, and this is now where we have reached. This is a critical issue. We operate as campuses on lands that are leased to us by the governments. For the last 77 years, we have been leasing land, peppercorn rent, but leasing lands. All of those universities in North America that you look at and celebrate, say, look at them, look at the endowments they have, look at their assets, their cash flow. And why? Because there are what we call land grant universities, that when they were established, the governments gave them the land to own as an asset on which they operate and more.
The UWI has major campuses in Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, and Antigua. Sir Hilary is pleading with regional governments to follow the lead of America and grant the UWI full ownership of the land.
All we're asking is for our governments to untie our hands, untie our feet. We have taken this university from a small little college to a global elite university as proof of our responsibility. We have demonstrated evidence overwhelmingly that we can manage our affairs. Transfer these lands on which we operate to the university freehold so we can have that asset value on our balance sheet. We can go to the banks and we can go to the private sector and we can enter into commercial operations, and we have some collateral to create a diversity of financial arrangements for our long-term sustainability.
Sir Hilary says this call is imperative in light of the reduction in the government's contribution to the UWI's budget. The Vice-Chancellor says this is a proposal the university has already made to governments in the region.
Because since the government's contributions to the operational budget has now fallen beneath 50%, the university now has to find 50% of its operational costs. We have written asking them to please consider the transfer of these campus lands to the university freehold. We're not asking the governments to just transfer it and walk away. Transfer it in such a way that if you are insecure about it, whatever we do with those lands, we will enter into a mechanism where the governments will be at the table. Untie our hands. Let us now enter into this phase so that we can join our North American colleagues in planning the next stage of our financial future.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
A St. Anne businesswoman was shot and killed Monday morning on her way home from the bar she operated in Ocho Rios. Dead is Thelma Brown of Hyattsfield, Brednut Hill in the parish. The police say she was shot in the head and had a wad of cash in her hand. Reports are that Brown, also called Joyce, was picked up by a close relative in a white Probox from her bar in Ocho Rios and was being driven home sometime after 1 on Monday. Upon reaching the scheme at Breadnut Hill, a silver Toyota Crown motorcar drove in front of the Probox and blocked the narrow winding road. The driver managed to maneuver the Probox around the Toyota Crown and continued along the roadway. The Toyota Crown followed the car in which Brown and her relative were traveling. The Crown was again used to block the path of the Probox motorcar. The driver reportedly put the car in reverse and tried to escape. The vehicle crashed into a wall on the main road. The relative exited the vehicle and ran into nearby bushes when he heard several gunshots. He reportedly got assistance to call the police. On the arrival of the police, the body of a female was seen lying on its back in a pool of blood with what appeared to be gunshot wounds to the head. It's unclear whether Brown was the intended target of the attack.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The World in a Minute. In Guyana, the funeral of Adriana Young, which was scheduled to take place on Monday, has been postponed. The 11-year-old was found dead on April 24, 2025, in a hotel swimming pool 1 day after she went missing. In a statement on Monday morning, Adriana's family said they made the painful decision to delay her funeral. They cited the need for space and clarity during their grieving process, saying, "Please know this was not easy, but we want to honor her with the peace, love, and dignity she deserves." They say new funeral arrangements will be announced in due course. In the meantime, they are asking for continued prayers and understanding from the public. Adriana's death sparked civil unrest in sections of Guyana. 3 internationally respected forensic pathologists have unanimously concluded that she died by drowning. But some family members have rejected the post-mortem results. Following the discovery of her body at the hotel, the building was set on fire and enraged protesters looted the establishment. The home of the hotel's proprietor was also torched.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he will talk with Hollywood executives about his plans to hit films made in foreign countries with a 100% tariff. He announced yesterday that he was authorizing the Commerce Department to start the process to impose the levy because America's film industry was dying a very fast death. But come Monday, he appeared to soften his stance, telling reporters at the White House that he was going to meet with the industry to make sure they're happy with his proposal. For years, filmmakers have been leaving Hollywood for destinations including the UK and Canada to lower costs. The non-US union said the tariff plan would be a knockout blow to the international industry.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, the JTA has dismissed claims that it's not in support of the Jamaica Teaching Council bill.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says his achievement of a doctoral degree has given him a new perspective on how to treat the problem of gun violence in Jamaica.
Jamaicans for Justice is warning that the government is dangerously close to undermining judicial independence following amendments to the Child Care and Protection Act.
Police Commissioner Dr. Kevin Blake says the process of procuring 1,000 more body-worn cameras is almost complete.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
Listeners, you can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app. It's available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Taxi drivers, are you ready to earn more? Join Amber on Time and keep 100% of your fares in the first month. No commission, no catch. Plus, in your second month, we'll install a free vehicle tracker to help keep you and your car safe. Stolen vehicle recovery and panic button response are also on us. And guess what? On May 3rd and 4th, come to 13 Haining Road. Snacks and drinks are on us. Come link up, ask questions, sign up on the spot, and level up with Amber on Time, Jamaica's taxi app built to just for you.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Jamaica's cricket mecca, Sabina Park, is getting ready to host the first leg quarter-final games in the Ray Nephew Jamaica Premier League on Thursday. In the first game at 6 p.m., Montego Bay United will face off with Tivoli Gardens, while at 8:30 it will be Champions Cavalier against Portmore United. The return legs in both quarter-finals will be at the same venue on Monday, May 12. The two winners will advance to play Arnott Gardens and Mount Pleasant in the semi-finals on Thursday, May 15 for the first leg. The second legs will be played 3 days later. Arnott and Mount Pleasant drew byes to the semi-finals after bagging the top two places from the regular season. And as it regards the situation surrounding the alleged breach by Mount Pleasant Football Academy, we checked with the authorities a short time ago to find out if there have been a ruling. They said no, and so we still wait on the outcome of that investigation. Opener Brandon King is the lone Jamaican named in a West Indies 15-man squad for a 6-match one-day international tour of England and Ireland later this month. The squad, to be led by the Barbadian Shea Hope, also has newcomer Joel Andrew, who starred for West Indies at the last Youth World Cup. The West Indies will play 3 one-day internationals against Ireland May 21 to 25 and a similar number of games against England May 29 to June 3. The squad is pretty much the nucleus of players who were successful during recent home series wins, a sweep against Bangladesh and England, as Cricket West Indies aims to build the one-day team ahead of the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup in 2027. The squad is Hope, Andrew, Casey Carty, Ruston Chase, Matthew Ford, Justin Greaves, Amir Jangu, Alzari Joseph, Shamar Joseph, King, Evan Lewis, Gouda Keshmoti, Shafin Rutherford, Jaden Seals, and Romario Shepherd. The Cricket West Indies also announced changes to the coaching staff for the tour. Former West Indies fast bowler and 2012 World Cup champion Ravi Rampal will be the team's bowling coach, replacing James Franklin. Cricket West Indies will also utilize the services of former Ireland all-rounder Kevin O'Brien as part of the Darren Sammy-led coaching staff during the Ireland leg of the tour. Leeward Islands women beat Jamaica by 8 wickets after their Cricket West Indies T20 Blaze game was reduced to 5 overs aside due to rain at Arnoldsville today. Batting first, the Jamaicans reached 4 without loss when the play was stopped due to rain. When play resumed, the Jamaicans were given a revised 5 overs to make as many runs as possible. Openers captain Rashada Williams went for 3, while Jodie and Morgan failed to trouble the scorers. Chanella Henry made 29 and Shadeen Nation 11. In response, the Leewards made 52 for 2. Kiana Joseph made 43, not out. Meanwhile, the Windward Islands beat Trinidad and Tobago by 3 wickets, chasing 73 to win. The Windwards reached the target inside 19 overs. Karina Noel led the scoring with 25. Anissa Mohammed finished with 3 for 12, and Steffi Sue Grimm bagged the 2 wickets. Earlier, TNT made 72 for 8 in their 20 overs. Brittany Cooper made an unbeaten 20. Selena Ross, Zayda James, and Afi Fletcher took 2 wickets apiece. Final scores, Trinidad and Tobago 72 for 8, the Windward Islands 73 for 7. South African pacer Khadija Rabada has been cleared to return to cricket, having served a 1-month ban for taking a recreational drug. The 29-year-old said on Saturday he had returned an adverse analytical finding for the use of a recreational drug and was serving a provisional ban. The South African Institute for Drug-Free Sport has confirmed Rabada tested positive for a substance overuse on January 21 during the South Africa T20 competition when was notified on April 1. Such substances carry a 3-month suspension reduced to 1 if the athlete completes a treatment program. It means Rabada, one of the world's best fast bowlers, will be available for South Africa for the World Test Championship final against Australia at Lords in June. He could feature for Gujarat Titans in the Indian Premier League on Tuesday. 2023 World Championship Sprint Relay bronze medalist Oblique Seville was one of the Jamaican athletes that experienced a rich payday as a second stop on the Grand Slam track series At the weekend, Seville pocketed nearly $8 million Jamaican dollars for his 2 days' work. He finished second in the men's short sprint after placing second in both the 100 meters and 200 meters for 16 points.
It's a good race. It was a preparation for the races that they have coming up, and I actually came out to this short meet and get a personal best. So it's a big stepping stone from them. I'm really happy because the last time I came third overall, so if I came second at this time, this good.
After finishing second in the men's 200 meters with a lifetime best of 20.13, Seville says a recurring toe injury is preventing him being more consistent over the distance.
If I don't have any issues with my toe, definitely I can take it down, but because of my toe, I have to be mindful at times when and where I run the 200 meters. It all depends because sometimes it's hurt a lot. So it depends on the degree of the pain, I can push through.
That's oblique. Now, national 100-meter hurdles champ Kieran Nugent collected close to 16 million Jamaican dollars for 2 days. Nugent finished third in the 100 meters hurdles in 12.34 before winning the 100 meters in 11.09. She got 18 points. Megan Tapper, who finished fifth in the hurdles and second in the 100, collected close to $5 million for her weekend's work. And that will do it for sports. We'll be back, though, with much more at 6:05 in our main sportscast.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Don't fall victim to deepfakes.
Watch out.
Protect yourself.
How is the
For more
TV?
information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or
Here,
scan
baby.
the QR code on screen.
Deepfake. No deepfake can't catch me.
Junior, you know say AI can make something will look and sound just like you? One day Junior get a voice note from her granny. Say the food done, the medication done, and she need money urgently.
Need money urgently? But Miss Pat no like ask people for things.
And as so comes, Judy get suspicious.
So what she do?
She asks the neighbor to go check pan her. Junior, the lady quite alright over there make her Sunday dinner.
So the voice note a deepfake?
Yes, my love. Come, your food ready.
Right now it look like we have to outsmart the AI. But wait. I really want dege dumpling you give me.
Me I wonder if AI can make one deep fake dumpling for you.
To learn more about deepfakes, visit www.broadcastingcommission.org.
When I got my first traffic ticket, I forgot to pay it within 30 days, and I had to go to court. Thank God I went, because if I didn't show, I would have been arrested. Pay your ticket early and avoid penalties. If you have questions or concerns, contact the Jamaica Constabulary Forces Traffic Ticket Processing Unit via WhatsApp at 876-0270 or call 876-928-1162 or email ttpu@jcf.gov.jm. A message from the Ministry of National Security.
More choices. Get active with Active Home Center. The one-stop shop for everything for your home. We have more savings, more choices, unbelievable prices. Wide selection with the latest style. The kitchen, bathroom, right down to the tile. Buy the hottest items on spot, don't miss out. Best options under one roof, no doubt. More savings, more choices.
Visit us in store or online at www.activehomecenter.com.
We have more savings, more choices.
Big news! The Big Bite Food Safety Show now airs on Nationwide 90 FM with your host, Alison Richards, the Food Safety Girl. Join Alison every Tuesday from 1 to 2 p.m. as she serves up expert advice, tips, and insights on everything food safety. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and remember, food safety is everybody's business. Don't miss a bite of the action. Tuesdays at 1 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. On the next episode, we go behind the produce stand. Safe, fresh produce vending in Jamaica.
Married life is a serious thing. Boy, careful how you put on the wedding ring.
For better or worse, in sickness or health, richer or poorer. But who generally wins in this equation? Or when the maths now add up? So many men avoid marriage, or those within complain of the constant worry that they can lose everything in the end. How reasonable are these thoughts though? Is it fair to use history and judge the likely outcome? If Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates can lose a lot, what about the average Joe? Join me, Rodman Campbell, every Tuesday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. for Affairs of the Heart, right here on Nationwide 90 FM. This Tuesday's topic, is marriage just a legal contract that benefits women and children? What happened to the man them?
Husband and wife, pain and problem in a them life. It's in a them life, in a them life.
Affairs of the Heart is brought to you by Supermed Pharmacy. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed. The Ministry of Health and Wellness. Healthy people, healthy environment. Dewars. Here's to the story. And Durex. Distributed by Massey Distribution Limited, Jamaica.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Multi-link, access every time, everywhere I go. Multi-link, 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use Multi-link. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the Multi-link logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multi-link, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my Multi-link?
Good afternoon. It's 5:35. I'm Cliff Hughes.
Good afternoon, listeners. Good afternoon, Cliff. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
Good afternoon, Sir Ricardo.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Well, in our cover story this afternoon, the police commissioner takes center stage. Dr. Kevin Blake says the process to procure 1,000 more body-worn cameras is almost complete. The issue, of course, of body-worn cameras has become a talking point in recent times, prompted by the advocacy of human rights lobby group Jamaicans for Justice.
That issue sparked the recent JFJ-led End Police Violence protest in Halfway Tree, St. Andrew. Here's Mahira Stewart's report.
The police commissioner says the JCF owns over 750 body-worn cameras. Over 670 are in daily use, while the others are being used for training purposes. He says more than $100 million have already been spent to purchase body-worn cameras. According to Dr. Blake, hiccups with the procurement process in 2024 delayed the move to acquire another 1,000 body-worn cameras. But while speaking on Nationwide this morning on Monday, he says that issue has now been rectified.
Our procurement guideline can be a little bit tricky sometimes. There was a hiccup in it. If it were not for that hiccup, we would have had those cameras before December last year. So that was the intention, and to have them deployed for the festive season. However, we are at the final stages of procurement for those 1,000 cameras, and we have budgeted for 4,000, which includes the 1,000 that is in procurement now, and we've budgeted 4,000 cameras over the next 3 fiscal years.
Dr. Blake has consistently said the JCF is not opposed to the use of cameras by the police during planned operations. However, he says the equipment now being procured are for police personnel involved in daily public order activities. He says those needed for operations are specialized devices. The police commissioner explained why they will take some time to acquire.
Of course, we are going to be putting cameras, and we are looking at spec'ing them out, procuring them. The thing is, we have to bear in mind that those specialized cameras are not the same as the cameras that we're buying now in terms of cost and capability, and they're made specifically for that. There's a thing about body-worn camera. It's called body-worn camera because it's worn on your body. And in intense operation, sometimes our incident is your body that you first take out of the line of fire with the camera. And so many times the footage from the body-worn camera doesn't help. As a result of that has led to more advanced type cameras. With that bears in mind that reality. And so it is not about just buying some cameras and putting it on persons.
In the meantime, accompanying the wider rollout of body-worn cameras is the need for a facility to store the data captured on the devices. JFJ used its protest last week to call for a timeline on the storage facility that will house the data from the cameras. Dr. Blake met with JFJ over the weekend to address this and other concerns they raised. The police commissioner says he informed the group that the facility is already in place.
We have that bandwidth. Everything I just tell you about is in place. There's no requirement for storage at this point in order to accommodate body-worn cameras. I've never said that. What I've been saying is that this is what we have been doing, and I've said it many times before. When you have a budget, it doesn't make sense I buy a hubcap until I can find a car to put it on. So it doesn't make sense I buy the body-worn cameras, that huge number, before I have the infrastructure to manage body-worn cameras. And that's what we have been doing over the last 2 years.
Does JFJ know this, Commissioner?
Yes, we had a very nice meeting. I called them in to brief them on it.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Thanks, Mahiri. Joining us now to discuss JFJ's chairman, John Clark. Good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon, and thanks for the invite.
Thank you so much for joining us.
We should tell our listeners John is also an attorney at law.
Correct. Yes. So, John, having heard from the commissioner, having met with him, is JFJ now satisfied?
Well, to be frank, the first time that we had made a public call in relation to the need for the JCF to be moving in the direction of implementing body-worn cameras was more than 5 years ago. And I think that call was made sometime in July 2020. And there we have heard the commissioner's concern. We're happy that the commissioner was able to facilitate us for a meeting, especially because he and his team would have met with us for more than 2 hours. They would have discussed our concerns and precisely what it is that the JCF has been doing over the years to try and accommodate it. We must not forget as a nation that there has been statements made by persons, including the minister, which seem to downplay the import of body-worn cameras. The fact of this scenario and why we think body-worn cameras are important both to the police, the citizens, and our combined collective goal of fighting crime is that sometimes in many scenarios you'll have divergent views as it relates to what really happened on the ground. And once you have the footage, it doesn't only have to be the footage in terms of visual footage, but audio footage of what takes place that can corroborate innocent police officers' accounts as to what happened and provide a mechanism to dismiss any false narrative in relation to what exactly happened that may be made up by malicious citizens. It also provides an avenue to support innocent citizens who may be faced with rogue elements of the JCF. And we have in our history as a nation many documented cases of officers who act in a manner not befitting of the office. So we're happy to see somewhat, and they have heard from the commissioner, that there seems, in our view, to be a renewed focus from the JCF in relation to how quickly this it will be implementing body-worn cameras, and we're hoping that it can be done in the shortest possible time because it all still redound to the nation's crime-fighting objectives. Because can you imagine when you have cases where citizens are accused of crime and the police officers are called on the scenes and then they would have captured certain footage that could be of assistance to the Crown and the prosecution in proving exactly what took place in relation to the material incident. And if this footage is available to be deployed by the state, it may very well cause us to have very shorter trials and in fact more pleas of guilt.
Agreed.
We can redound not only in scenarios where there are controversial police killing, but in other scenarios as well.
But having listened to the commissioner this morning for more than half an hour and listening to yourself, Michaela, as the executive director, it doesn't seem to me that you all disagree on the importance of these cameras. So I'm just trying to, be clear that having come out of that 2-hour-long meeting and heard the plans, are you now satisfied that the JCF is taking the matter seriously?
Well, we're satisfied that JCF is taking the matter seriously. And in fact, there have been statements in the past by the JCF in relation to a timeline for implementing it. But there was a particular footage I heard from the audio played earlier, before this very hour, in which the commissioner was suggesting that at times because person may be taking their body out of the line of fire, that it may very well cause the footage quality to be suspect or questionable. So I was responding to that in particular to make the point that while in some cases that may affect the visual footage or there may be of some assistance. So that's what I was responding to. And I suspect, and from what I'm hearing from the JCF, that whilst we're agreed that the body-worn cameras is the way to go, there may be, and what one will call what the minister himself said about this issue, there may be a severe concern in relation to the cost of the implementation of this initiative, and that is why we had made the point I made earlier that in our view, any cost implemented can only redound to the nation's benefit, bearing in mind that it can we utilize our own controversial police killings, but in the nation's objective in fighting crime itself.
We're up on a break, John Clark. We're talking with the chairman of Jamaicans for Justice, John Clark, after that interview this morning with the Commissioner of Police by Turner and George. After the break, John, we pick it up.
Chuck fried chicken always ready. Burn Chuck, original crispy. Burn Chuck, Cajun spicy. Burn Chuck, a barbecue. Burn Chuck, we are go a Burn Chuck.
The temperature brought to you by Bird Shack Fried Chicken in Kingston, Montego Bay and Ochivios is...
It's 29 degrees Celsius here in the capital city of Kingston. It's 29 in the western city of Montego Bay.
Enough power tool, big to small. Jack my figure dig the wall.
Upper Total Tools.
Lead back a figure trim the lawn. We have everything a job demand.
Total Tools.
We rent them, sell them and fix them. Also give Total Tools a call. When I say home improvement, landscape construction, a Total Tools are your option. Home improvement, landscape construction, Total Tools are your option.
Total Tools, located at 102 Main Street, Ocherias, 34 Slive Road, Kingston.
And lot C6 Jacksaw, Sentence Bay. Call us today.
In Jamaica, your rights are protected by our Constitution. From the right to education to freedom of expression, every citizen deserves respect and dignity. But remember, with rights come responsibilities. Let's uplift and respect each other and stand against injustice. Together, we can make Jamaica a better place for ourselves and future generations. Know your rights. Embrace your responsibilities. This message was brought to you by the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs.
14 minutes going up to 6 o'clock. The issue of body-worn cameras been an issue in recent times, and we have with us now the chairman of Jamaicans for Justice, John Clark, speaking to the points raised by the Commissioner of Police, Dr. Kevin Blake. Mr. Clark also told us that JFJ and the Commissioner met for about 2 hours recently. Let me ask you, John Clark, this meeting with the Commissioner, did you learn anything new as an organization or as individuals that you didn't know before, where this issue of body-worn cameras is concerned?
Well, JFJ would have, we would have educated ourselves in relation to the issue of body-worn cameras, not only in relation to its usage in Jamaica, but by actually visiting other countries in which body-worn cameras are deployed, by speaking with the various stakeholders, and by learning firsthand the different types of body-worn cameras that are able to be deployed. So we are not...
You didn't learn. The question is, did you learn anything new?
Yes,
did you get a great appreciation of the effort being made or not being made?
Well, what we learned, and we were very, very, very appreciative of the Commissioner's effort, because we appreciate that the persons who met with us are very busy persons. So what we appreciate from that meeting is that the Commissioner seems to be very committed to the idea of having the body-worn cameras deployed by his force. We understand what he had expressed in relation to the fact that it will take some time to do. He may make a comparison between himself, for example, the GCF with the thousands of officers, and a security
company
with less than 100, for example.
Yes.
But the point, so we appreciate that more work will necessarily need to be done on the JCF part to have the implementation done. But this may sound harsh, but we have been calling for this for more than 5 years. So whilst we appreciate now, then from our end, what we would say that there seems to be a focus now to at least having it implemented that we have not seen when we first made the call in 2020. So that we appreciate that, and we appreciate that this Commissioner, and we see to the figure that reduction in crime, that this Commissioner is taking a, how should I put it nice, a different approach in relation to his engagement with lobby groups. So we're hoping that eventually, as a nation, we'll always soon be reaping the benefits of the proper implementation of body-worn cameras in our country. And I just wanted to make the point, though, before we go off cliff, that we appreciate that the JCF is not a small unit, but when we visited the different states, most of those police forces have more members than the JCF, and they implemented it. And we do appreciate that there's a resource constraint. We do appreciate that there's a budget. We do appreciate all of these scenarios, but in our view, the benefits that will be born from the JCF, from the citizenry, and from all of us by its deployment is something that will reap the benefit for years to come, both in terms of our crime fighting and our ability to have more effective prosecution of crime generally in Jamaica.
When I listened to the commissioner this morning, Mr. Clark, one of the things that struck me, and I'm not an advocate as you are, and didn't have the benefit of going and looking at other jurisdictions and how they were using body-worn cameras. One of the things that struck me, and as an attorney at law, you'd appreciate this, he said they are fighting a force of about 8,000 operational. And if we are to get to the point where, let us say, half, three-quarters of those 8,000 men and women were to use body-worn cameras, the business, the architecture of storing, maintaining, retrieving the data, the videos, yes, in a context to keep the value of the material can stand up in a court of law
Evidentiary
as
value.
Evidentiary value. That struck me because we have had several cases in Jamaica. I can think of the famous one, Buckfield, St. Anne, with a phone, yes, and that collapsed because of the evidentiary value had been lost. Yeah, I found that instructive, and I want to hear your thoughts on that as an attorney.
Well, I listened to the commissioner and I heard him make the example of needing footage, I believe, 5 years. So that means if an incident happened 5 years ago and we think we need footage now, then you'd want to ensure that you have a system in place that can retrieve footage from 5 years ago. And whilst this commissioner is no fool, he's PhD and is very well respected academically. And whilst we appreciate all effort that we make in terms of data storage, solution, network capacity, one of the main things that we know as Jamaicans is sometimes we have to be able to creep sometime before we can run. And while in other countries they would have implemented the policy whereby they say that they'll be able to have a data storage solution for a year period until eventually they can reach a 5-year, 6-year period. I'm hoping that we're not delaying implementing the widespread use because we want to start with a 5-year thing when we can at least start with a year, because the benefits that the country can endure to us from even having a data storage solution that may not be ideal but can do for a year. May be lost if we're waiting to have one that can actually do for 5 years and 6 years. But I appreciate what the commissioner saying, and no well-thinking Jamaican can think that is bad. And what one must appreciate with this great high leadership at the JCF now is that many things that are being done are well-researched, well-thought out, and in many areas, well-thinking citizens can have disagreements in relation to whether do we need a data storage solution for a year or do we need one for a 5-year period. But that is something that ultimately the commissioner will have a final call on as the lead person for us in that type of security framework that we run as this nation. But it brings home the point that there are a lot of factors to be considered.
Yeah. John, I want to take you back to the matter of engagement, because I heard you concede earlier that this commissioner has changed how he engages with advocacy groups. And I wondered, before taking to the streets last week, did JFJ make an effort to meet with the commissioner and the leadership of the High Command privately before going to the streets with the concerns?
We have made numerous efforts, and we have written to the commissioner on numerous occasions, not only in relation to the body-worn cameras. In fact, we have we have made those efforts and made those requests for meetings before. And in some cases, those efforts and those meeting requests have not been answered. But more importantly, as I made that point, we have made a call even from 2020 for the nation to be advised about the protocol as relates to how body-worn cameras are utilized. And we are now in 2025 and we have not seen that answered. And whilst we appreciate that the call and our protest may have triggered our request for the meeting to be placed at a higher poll in terms of being answered quicker, we would hope that in the future, in terms of how we engage with each other, and the Commissioner himself has indicated that this will be, it will change somehow.
How would you characterize the working relationship between JFJ and the leadership of the JCF?
Well, ultimately, I would characterize, especially bearing in mind that 2-hour meeting, as something that is evolving, and we both, and our motto in fact is justice for all. And we at JFJ are, in fact, and I've indicated that to the Commissioner, that we're happy to see the direction in which crime is going as a nation, and we're happy to see the work that he has been doing and his leadership has been doing. And whilst we may have a little disagreement here and there in relation to whether or not we as a country should be told certain things in relation to what are the guidelines under which officers work, the public interaction policies, things like that, we ultimately wish him and his team all the best, because we know that we live in a country and we want to live in a country that's safe, because any of our members, any of our directors, any of our employees can be affected by crime. And when we're going to call the JCF. So invariably, we would want to see the JCF succeed in all of its objectives, but we also want to ensure that human rights concerns are not ignored. Because human rights concerns are there to ensure that the innocent Jamaicans may be caught up between the crosshairs, between the police and the real criminals, are not themselves made scapegoats and become victims or dead.
Was the issue of sustainability in terms of the reductions we're seeing in major crimes raised?
That issue was not raised. Ultimately, we do not expect the Commission to be discussing any operational objectives with JCF, and he had in fact made that quite clear from the outset.
Mm-hmm.
And what we will be discussing is just as relates to the issue of body-worn cameras and our concern about human rights concern. We expect that, as is the practice, that operational matters are secret and are secret for a reason. And we all we could do as an organization was express our appreciation for the work that they have been doing, and that in hoping that the work continues, and that ultimately what we will have is that those who deserve to be imprisoned are imprisoned, but that innocent Jamaicans are not caught in the crosshairs.
Now that it appears that the issue of the body-worn cameras, that's accelerating, what are your next steps in terms of advocacy around this issue?
Well, as I said before, we would love to see that the policy in relation to how it is deployed when footages are made public if necessary is actually developed and made public. And why this is important is that we appreciate that, Ricardo, that sometimes we will receive reports from members of the public, and it is very well before us. But if the JCF has the footage, as we see in other countries, that can demonstrate exactly what takes place, and that footage can be deployed to the public as necessary in a timely manner, that means somehow inure to the benefit by ensuring that innocent officers are vindicated when they're innocent. And there's a scenario in which there are some miscreant officers and rogue elements, that the public is informed that it's exactly what takes place, because we cannot have a better Jamaica if we continue living in secrecy and where miscreant officers take us years ultimately to have them uncovered.
All right. Thank you very much, John Clark, the chairman of the Board of Jamaicans for Justice. Thank you very much, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, John.
And thanks for the invite. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome.
Reasonable sounding. And again, listening to the Commissioner, I don't sense a lot of daylight between them. So I keep wondering to myself, why has the tone and tenure around this issue become so vitriolic at times? Because I don't sense a lot of daylight when I listen to both of them.
I said it last week on my program that, listen, having spoken with, it was Marlon Morgan and
Michael Jackson,
that listening to both of them for almost an hour, there is very little to separate or to disagree on. But we seem to get caught up in distractions, yeah? A lot of distractions and things that really don't matter, yeah? And take our eyes off what is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah?
What I appreciated this morning, though, from the commissioner, a rich intellectual approach to national security was clear.
Mhm.
I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see the result of his training and education.
Strategic thinking.
Yes, very smart. And what must not be underestimated?
Investment.
The investment we
Absolutely.
have made
Yeah.
in the security ecosystem of the country over the last 10, 11 years.
And all of that is linked to effective and prudent economic management.
Absolutely.
Those links people have to understand.
Yeah, it's not that the commissioners who have gone before or
Didn't want to do
or
better.
the ministers
Yeah.
of national security didn't want to do better. They just didn't have the resources
Or fiscal space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That has made a fundamental difference. And God bless. He also said something that struck me this morning: the quality of the men and women now being recruited in the JCF.
Better pay.
Better pay.
And the fact that the leadership clearly has a vision and want to lead somewhere. So, yeah,
Yes.
I can understand why people would want to join.
Exactly.
Nora wants us out of here, though. The headlines are next.
Cover Story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
a minute after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening. With the headlines at 6, I'm Nora Gay Banton. President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, Dr. Mark Smith, is dismissing claims that the association is opposed to the Jamaica Teaching Council bill, the JTC bill. Dr. Smith addressed the issue at a media briefing at the JTA's head office in downtown Kingston today.
We have no objection with the bill, and I reiterate that as I realize that there are sections within our society that seek to hijack the narrative. That is not true. I say it categorically. We support the concept of the bill. However, there are some critical issues that must be tackled to ensure that we do not heap injustice upon our teachers.
The Jamaica Teaching Council bill was passed in the Senate with bipartisan support 2 weeks ago. But just days after, the opposition PNP held a press conference highlighting several flaws in the bill, which it says must be addressed. The JTA has also criticized the bill, claiming that several of their recommendations were ignored. But according to Dr. Smith, the JTA supports the establishment of a regulatory body to advance the country's teaching profession.
The establishment of the council, and I want to put some historic background to this, the establishment of the council was also one of the recommendations in the 2004 Task Force report, a transform education system, presented to the then Prime Minister, the Most Honourable P.J. Patterson, and approved by Parliament at that time. The idea of establishing a regulatory body to advance the status of the teaching profession is fully supported by the Jamaica Teachers Association. The ultimate beneficiaries of such a system are our children, our learners. It is a society in its totality. And so we stand as willing partners wanting to ensure that this bill is improved to the point where we can all sing Kumbaya.
Meanwhile, Dr. Smith says the regulations on the JTC bill are too punitive.
While we support the general intent and purpose of the legislation and the policymaking apparatus, the board of the council is not truly representative of the sector and the professionals it seeks to regulate. We assert that there can be no regulation without effective representation. The underlying principles of this act, unfortunately, its regulatory functions are far too restrictive, punitive, and rather than being corrective, enabling, and empowering of our teachers.
Dr. Mark Smith, President of the Jamaica Teachers Association. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says his achievement of a doctoral degree has given him a new perspective on how to treat the problem of gun violence in Jamaica. Holness recently became the first Jamaican Prime Minister to earn a doctoral degree. His degree focused on how U.S. gun laws impact violence in Jamaica. Speaking to Northeastern News following his conferment, Dr. Holness says he has been able to weave his learning into policy formation. The security forces have long said the gun is the preferred weapon of choice for those committing murders in Jamaica. Amid a near 37% decline in murders and the lowest monthly tally in 2 decades, the question of how best to sustain the downward trend has come to the fore. Armed with a doctoral of law and policy degree, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he now has a full picture of the problem that has plagued the country for the better part of 40 years. Dr. Holness told Northeastern News that having completed his degree, he now sees the country's gun violence problem through different lenses. The Prime Minister says he has been able to form a better understanding of the link between the existence of a diaspora and the flow of guns into Jamaica. According to a transcript of the interview given by Dr. Holness, 90% of the guns flowing into Jamaica come from the United States. He specifically named Miami, Atlanta, Texas, and New York as major sources from which guns enter Jamaica. Human rights advocacy group Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ, is warning that the government is dangerously close to undermining judicial independence by interfering with the sentencing regime for children. JFJ is reacting to the Child Care and Protection Amendment Bill, which passed in Parliament last Tuesday. It now proposes that a child found guilty of capital murder faces a minimum of 15 years in prison before being eligible for parole. JFJ's Executive Director, Mikel Jackson, accused the government of moving ahead with the changes despite calls for more consultations.
I can say that they listened to some of the public commentary, but most of the public commentary had said, listen, don't move ahead with this. So the executive, by way of its cabinet, went with what they decided. Then it went to Parliament. There wasn't robust discussion. So what's the purpose then of governance is my question and my concern. If the courts are simply there with their hands folded, just rubber stamping ultimately what the cabinet has decided is the concern.
Ms. Jackson's comments support the opinion of attorney Bert Samuels. According to Samuels, the Parliament is taking over the role of judges. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Nora Gay. Banton Sports is next.
Every day, we use our feet to walk, run, and take us to amazing places. But your feet can do something even more amazing. A simple step can change a life. Join Guardian Group's Shine 5K Night Run, formerly the Keep It Alive 5K, and make us try to support the Noel Holmes Hospital, the Bustamante Hospital for Children, and Project STAR. Saturday, May 10 in Kingston and Saturday, May 24 in Montego Bay. New name, but same epic vibe. Register today at run2shineja.com or runningeventsja.com and see you at Shine 2025.
Jamaica live good, yeah. I make we enjoy life, while we feel safe at night.
Oi there! I can't pick a tree. Are you planty? I know that.
come beat me, Cheryl, come beat me. But she I sweep up over here when they leave them nasty up me yard. You know what? I cut this tongue.
Keela, Cheryl, how was that? Wanna stop the quarreling, no man? This no call for in our community. This no sound good, man.
Nobody tell me nothing. You know see how Cheryl turn bad. Me pick 2 little aki off her tree off of the limb way hang down over my yard. And here she go talk about. She go cut down tree. And that me say, so what?
No bother with no quarrel. No fight. Cheryl, no cut down the tree. Uno live good no people. Uno a big man, you know. And uno a neighbor. The picnic them a friend too. We have to set the example for the picnic them. Live good. Me a beg uno. Do.
A true ya talking a good son.
Take a little aki them Keela. Cause for real, the limb really hung over your yard. We are neighbor. Make we start live good.
Aye. I saw it figure man. Live good, me say.
Jamaica live good, yeah. I make we enjoy life. While we feel safe at night. Jamaica live good. I better you and I.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Jamaica's cricket mecca, Sabina Park, is getting ready to host the first leg quarterfinal games in the Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League on Thursday. In the first game at 6 o'clock, Montego Bay United will take on Tivoli Gardens, while at 8:30 it will be the champions Cavalier against Portmore United. The return legs in both quarterfinals will be at the same venue on Monday, May 12th. The 2 winners will advance to play Arnett Gardens and Mount Pleasant in the semi-finals on Thursday, May 15 for the first leg. The second leg 3 days later. Arnett and Mount Pleasant drew byes to the semi-finals after bagging the top 2 places for the regular season. The Premier League final is set for Labor Day. And there's still no ruling on the alleged breach by Mount Pleasant Academy, in which they stand accused of using ineligible players in 6 Premier League games, 5 of which they won and the other they lost. And it could have implications on the official final standings on the table. So far, the 6 teams into the playoffs, a loss of points, if that's the punishment, if any punishment at all, will not affect the top 6 since they're going ahead with the quarterfinals. Not only will it not affect the top 6, it will not affect the placings either. And so they're going ahead with the first leg of the quarterfinals. Opener Brandon King is the lone Jamaican named in the West Indies 15-man squad for a 6-match one-day international tour of England and Ireland later this month. The squad, to be led by the Barbadian Shea Hope, also has newcomer Joel Andrew, who starred for the West Indies at the last Youth World Cup. The West Indies will play 3 one-day internationals against Ireland, May 21 to 25, and 3 matches against England, May 29 to June 3. The squad is pretty much the nucleus of players who were successful during recent home series. They won against Bangladesh and England, as Cricket West Indies aims to build the IO one-day international team ahead of the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup in 2027. The squad is Hope, Andrew, Casey Carty, Ruston Chase, Matthew Ford, Justin Greaves, Amir Jangu, Alzari Joseph, Shama Joseph, King, Evan Lewis, Gudakesh Moti, Shafeen Rutherford, Jaden Seals, and Romario Shepherd. CWR also announced changes to the coaching staff for the tour. Former West Indies fast bowler and the 2012 World Cup champion Ravi Rampal is now the team's new bowling coach. He's replacing James Franklin. Cricket West Indies will also utilise the services of former Ireland all-rounder Kevin O'Brien as part of the Darren Sammy-led coaching staff during the Ireland leg of the tour. Leeward Islands women beat Jamaica by 8 wickets after their Cricket West Indies T20 Blaze match was reduced to 5 overs aside due to rain at Arnos Vale on Monday. Batting first, the Jamaicans reached 4 without loss when play was stopped due to rain. When play resumed, the Jamaicans were given a revised 50 overs to make as many runs as possible. Openers Captain Rashada Williams went for 3, and Jodie and Morgan failed to trouble the scorers. Chanel Henry made 29 and Chile Nation 11. In response, the Leeward Islands made 52 for 2. Kiana Joseph made 43, not out. In the meantime, the Windward Islands beat Trinidad and Tobago by 3 wickets, chasing 73 to win. The Windwards reached a target inside 19 overs. Karina Noel, she led the scoring with a 25. Anissa Mohammed finished with 3 for 12, and Steffi Sugrim bagged the 2 wickets. Earlier, TNT made 72 for 8 of their 20 overs. Brittany Cooper made an unbeaten 20. Selena Ross, Sada James, and Afi Fletcher took 2 apiece. Final scores: Trinidad and Tobago 72 for 8, the Windward Islands 73 for 7. South African bowler Kagiso Rabada has been cleared to return to cricket, having served a 1-month ban for taking a recreational drug. The 29-year-old said on Saturday he had returned an adverse analytical finding for the use of a recreational drug and was serving a provisional ban. The South African Institute for Drug-Free Sport has confirmed Rabada tested positive for a substance of abuse on January 21 during the SA20 T20 competition and was notified on April 1. Such substances carry a 3-month suspension reduced to 1 if the athlete completes a treatment program. It means that Rabada, one of the world's best fast bowlers, will be available for South Africa for the World Cup Test Championship final against Australia at Lord's in June. He could feature for Gujarat Titans in the Indian Premier League on Tuesday. 2023 World Championship Sprint Relay bronze medalist Oblique Seville was one of the Jamaican athletes taking advantage of the rich payout at the Grand Slam Track Series at the weekend. Seville pocketed nearly $8 million for his 2 days' work. He was second in the men's short sprint overall in terms of points after finishing second in both the 100 and 200 meters.
It's a good race. It was a preparation for the races that they have coming up, and I actually came out to this short meet and get a personal best. So it's a big stepping stone for me. I'm really happy because the last time I came third overall, so if I came second at this time, it's good.
After finishing second in the 200 meters with a lifetime best 20.13, Seville says a recurrence of 2 injuries preventing him being more consistent over the distance.
If I don't have any issues with my toe, definitely I can take it down, but because of my toe, I have to be mindful at times when and where around the 200 meters. It all depends because sometimes it's hurt a lot, so it depends on the degree of the pain I can push through.
Oblique Seville. Meanwhile, national 100 meters hurdles champion Akira Nugent collected close to 16 million Jamaican dollars. Nugent finished third in the 100 meters hurdles in 12.34 before winning the 100 meters flat in 11.09. She scored 18 points. Megan Tapper, who finished fifth in the hurdles and second in the 100, collected nearly $5 million for her weekend's work. Jamaica's male team will seek to return to winning ways when they take on Panama in the third match of the Pan American Hockey Federation men's CAC qualifiers in Mexico on Wednesday. The Jamaicans opened their campaign with a 2-1 win over Guatemala just a day after arriving in Mexico. They went down 4-0 to Venezuela in their second game, and the captain, Johnny Burton, says their hopes remain high.
First thing I told them that we first must thank God that we made it here first up, because it was a long and treacherous journey for all of us. The next thing I told them is that there's nothing new. We have done all of this in training before. We have listened to our coaches before. We have trusted the system. So all we have to do is just go out there and execute.
Johnny Burton. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced that the 2027 NFL Draft will take place in Washington, D.C. The 3-day event will be held at the National Mall on Pennsylvania Avenue. It will be the first time Washington hosts a draft since the NFL started rotating the sites from New York in 2015.
I'm pleased to reveal that the 2027 NFL Draft, that's a big thing, will be held right here in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., on the National Mall. I was just saying to Roger, I don't think there's ever been anything like that. That's a good idea. In fact, maybe we could use it for other things also. I have an idea. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be something that nobody else will ever be able to duplicate that, I don't suspect. It's very exciting. Every year, hundreds of young football players have their dreams come true as the NFL teams across the land, and you just saw that last week. Select the best young players in America to join their ranks. Hundreds of thousands of football fans will travel all across our country to cheer them on.
Trump made history in February by becoming the first sitting U.S. president to attend the Super Bowl. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, Washington Commanders controlling owner Josh Harris, and D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser joined Trump in the Oval Office of the White House for the announcement. Goodell and Harris both said they expect as many as 1 million people to attend the event. A record crowd of 775,000 attended the 2024 draft over 3 days, while an estimated 600,000 turned out for last month's 2025 draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin. President Trump says the NFL draft has become a marquee event until fans across the country and around the world. That's uniting fans across the country and around the world.
Boosting local businesses and bringing jobs and tourism to the heart of our capital. The draft is a celebration of one of our country's most cherished cultural institutions and the annual highlights for football fans everywhere. Everyone in the world is going to be watching. We look forward to welcoming people from across the nation, from all over the world.
U.S. President Donald Trump. The 2026 NFL Draft will be held in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, April 23 to 25. That's sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612 to 5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:20.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies including plugs, switches, panel boards and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Calling all golfers! The third annual Stories to Create charity golf tournament is happening on July 19 at the Constant Spring Golf Course, and you don't want to miss it. Come out and compete in 8 exciting challenges, from longest drive to beat the pro. And yes, you'll get your shot at $5 million in the hole-in-one contest. Prizes, surprises, and a powerful cause supporting youth and storytelling programs through EHAS Inc. Register now and swing with purpose. Visit ehasinc.org or email info@ehasinc.org and we'll see you on the green.
Celebrate mom with the Jamaica Observer's 4 Moms Mother's Day promotion. Win big for mom with a $50,000 cash prize, appliances, gift certificates, movie passes, and more. Just spend $6,000 or more with your multi-link card. Grab the Daily Observer, complete the entry form, and submit it with your receipt. 4 lucky moms will win. Enter by May 16th and make this Mother's Day unforgettable. See the Jamaica Observer for more details. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
Get ready for a fun-filled day of storytelling and imagination as CliffViews Online and the E-Zone celebrates Read Across Jamaica Day with a special live outside broadcast from Seawood Primary and Infant School. Join us on Tuesday, May 6th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. as we bring the joy of reading to life with exciting book readings and engaging conversations. Expect exciting prizes and surprises. So, tune in to CliffViews Online and the E-Zone on May 6th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's Read Across Jamaica Day at Seawood Primary and Infant School. Catch the live stream on Nationwide 90 FM's YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by Chris and Charles, Pressbox Printers, Guardian Group's Shine 5K, Cozy Corner Books and more, E-Learning Jamaica, and Kingston Bookshop.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Roby Ann Williams. It's a Monday evening, the start. Are we already past the start? The day almost done. Yeah, it's Monday. a new week, and we welcome it. A special good evening to our friends over on our YouTube platform. We invite you to weigh in live in today's public opinion. Weigh in live in the comment section, of course. And let's start talking about what's happening with the tariffs and all. U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs are in the spotlight, targeting countries like China and reshaping global trade. But what does that mean for you, the everyday online shopper, including myself? Have you noticed higher prices, maybe longer delivery times, or even fewer products available on your favorite platforms? So today we're asking, how have Trump's tariffs affected your online shopping experience? Have you seen anything drastic, any prices gone up? On our social media platform, I'll go right ahead on Instagram, where KB is saying, no, it is what it is, me still I get it less expensive than if I were to buy in stores here. Wow, there's another conversation. Rick So Cool says, nope, I will find a work around those tariffs. All right. Well, I know we Jamaicans will always find creative ways to work around things. Let me see if I can get this one from Rick the Cynic on our X platform, saying no. For me, I find a workaround. Okay, I am a Jamaican. And he says I'm smarter than Trump. All right. On our Facebook platform, how have Trump's tariffs affected your online shopping experience? For Philip Jackson, and I'll just give you, before I read on Facebook, I can tell you that on Friday, the U.S. ended a tariff exemption for goods shipped from China worth less than $800. And this has affected popular e-commerce sites such as Shein and Temu, whose cheap items consumers have come to rely on. Now, if you shop on those sites, I can also tell you that Temu is saying that it will stop selling goods imported from China in the U.S. directly to customers from its platform. So there are some changes in the online shopping industry that are happening, and it's for you to become aware of it and know what's happening. Because I bought something, and I was telling my colleagues earlier today, I'll share my experience with the question, how have Trump's tariffs affected your online shopping experience? I'll share my own experience. I bought something for $12. And when I looked back on that same item, the same item that I bought for $12, I saw for $33. I'm like, wow. That my colleague said that more than double. Yeah, for $12, and it's now $33. On Facebook, Philip Jackson says, Trump is an agent of confusion, but he must carry on until such time. Obstruction is what he leads with. He is what I call wild card weather. You can't forecast. Okay, can't end up anywhere. No set directions. Wow, what a very, very good synopsis right there, Philip Jackson. Edney Powell says, other than a plane ticket, I don't use my cards like that. Online shopping is a no-no for me at this time. I know I have to get with it in the future. All right. Natalie Winter says, no, not really. And let me see if I can get to the comments on our YouTube platform. How have Trump's tariffs affected your online shopping experience? So the people who shop on Temu, the people who shop on Amazon, and also Shein, where I believe majority, I will not say majority, but I believe most Jamaicans, some of the members of the public who are in the hearing of my voice, shop on, whether it be Temu, Shein, or AliExpress, or Amazon, or you do online shopping overall. What has your experience been since late with the tariffs and all? Let me see if I can get to the comments on our YouTube platform. Let me see. All right, so the comments are coming up. I'll wait. Marcus the Best said, things more expensive now, but it's necessary to achieve self-sufficiency in the U.S. David Nabar says, you can't fix stupid. Wow. And that's okay. All right. Marcus the Best again saying, bet against the U.S. at your own peril. MS says half of the things you buy online, you don't need it anyway. You say people just purchasing stuff without needing it. Let me see. The real Alien Chef Patricia says, I keep my tailor busy so nobody turns up in a suit or never online. Okay, I see. So you say you have unique pieces. Yeah. Grace Bailey says, yes, it do. All right, let me see if I can. Andrew Larson, never do online shopping. Let me see. Half of the things, yes, that's from MS to say that half of the things we buy online we don't need anyway. I think people go there because it's less expensive. Rick NYC says simply, find the workaround. It exists. I will not pay no increase. I see the increases and just implement my workaround. Yeah? Yeah, and that's what we'll have to do. Aishan Khan is saying, it doesn't affect me because I can do a lot for myself, especially making my clothes. Then would you look at that? That is good. That is great. You can make your own clothes. That's amazing. But for some of us, like myself, who not so creative with them hands, yeah, we tend to buy, whether it be online or off the line. But these exemptions, the tariff exemption for goods shipped from China that are worth less than $800, that came to an end on Friday. Yeah, so starting Friday, goods shipped commercially will now be subjected to new tariffs of 145%, the current level of levies imposed on goods coming from China. Items sent through U.S. Postal Service will be hit with duties of 120% of their value, or $100, which will increase to $200. Wow, $200. Yeah. So these tariffs have taken the spotlight. I believe earlier we also heard plans of imposing tariffs on films. Yeah. So these are really things happening. Carlene Smith says, what is the workaround? How do you work around it? We need some information as relates to how you work around it. Me, myself, I'm an online shopper, but I really appreciate the information. How do I work around it? Barbara Ellington says, I never shop online. I must see, touch, and try on what I'm buying. And then you have, yes, for sure, Barbara Ellington, people who have to touch them clothes and buy it. Yeah? Let me see if I can get in some more of what's happening. Who done it says Trump bad mind the world. Who am I says can't find tin Aki in the USA. It gone from wow. Okay, HC a shipping from Shein at $50 will now cost $180. And that's crazy. Because here in Jamaica, if it go over the $100, thank God we bust the gate and get the $100. If it go over the $100 US, then we'll have to pay extra, don't it? Yeah. So a lot's going on in this in the online shopping industry. The tariffs are affecting people. I know, like I said, from my own experience, I purchased something for $12, and when me look at $33. So brace yourselves, consumers, shoppers, brace yourself. It's gonna be a rough ride, but we have to get around it. And I'm still waiting for somebody in the YouTube chat to explain to me how we get around it. Who done it says, when Americans stop traveling due to Trump tariff, Jamaica, the tourist industry, is going to be affected. Online shopping cannot cause much. You don't have to buy what you don't want. And people think people want clothes and them something. So people, I don't know. Electra Squad says Shein need to start shipping straight to the host country. Well, there is something. Yeah. Mick Hull is saying brace and spend wisely. All right, there you have it. Brace and spend wisely. CJ Martinez, it's costing me a lot to buy things online. Yeah, France say way more variety online. That too. But you do have the people who love to go in at the store. And to each his own. Guys, I'm getting the wrap-up signal. Thank you so much. Brace yourselves for what's coming, what's already here. Yeah, thank you so much for participating. The Business Report is up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:34. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Like I alluded earlier, Donald Trump says he will talk with Hollywood executives after an earlier announcement that he would hit films made in foreign countries with 100% tariffs. Now, this has sent shockwaves through the industry. The U.S. president said on Sunday he was authorizing the Commerce Department to start the process to impose the levy because America's film industry was dying, quote, a very fast death. But he appeared to soften his stance earlier today, telling reporters at the White House that he was going to meet with the industry to make sure they're happy with his proposal. For years, filmmakers have been leaving Hollywood for destinations, including the UK and Canada, to lower costs. In the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 159 Jamaican dollars and 49 cents to buy $1, 210 Jamaican dollars and 85 cents to buy £1 and 115 Jamaican dollars and 60 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, is a financial reporting firm that delivers accounting and compliance services on time. Call us today at 876-908-0486-7. Email us at clientservices@cocnjamaica.com or visit our website at www.cocnjamaica.com. COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Want to reduce your high electricity bills? Then Peak Energy has the solution for you. From grid-tied to hybrid solar inverters with full lithium-ion battery pack. Installation and maintenance packages available. Visit us at Shop 1, 3 Mosquito Valley Road, Red Hill, St. Andrew. Call 876-279-8820 or 944-0668. Or email us at peakenergysolutionsja@gmail.com. Peak Energy for everything solar.
Every day, we use our feet to walk, run, and take us to amazing places. But your feet can do something even more amazing. A simple step can change a life. Join Guardian Group's Shine 5K Night Run, formerly the Keep It Alive 5K, and make us try to support the Noel Holmes Hospital, the Bustamante Hospital for Children, and Project Star. Saturday, May 10 in Kingston and Saturday, May 24 in Montego Bay. New name, but same epic vibe. Register today at run2shineja.com or runningeventsja.com and see you at Shine 2025.
Married life is a serious thing. Boy, careful how you put on the wedding ring.
For better or worse, in sickness or health, richer or poorer. But who generally wins in this equation? Or when the maths now add up? So many men avoid marriage, or those within complain of the constant worry that they can lose everything in the end. How reasonable are these thoughts though? Is it fair to use history and judge the likely outcome? If Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates can lose a lot, what about the average Joe? Join me, Rodman Campbell, every Tuesday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. for Affairs of the Heart, right here on Nationwide 90 FM. This Tuesday's topic, is marriage just a legal contract that benefits women and children? What happened to the man them?
Husband and wife, be a problem in them life. It's in them life, in them life.
Affairs of the Heart is brought to you by Supermed Pharmacy. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed. The Ministry of Health and Wellness. Healthy people, healthy environment. Dewars. Here's to the story. And Durex. Distributed by Massey Distribution Limited, Jamaica.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, by God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path, unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of The Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Get ready for a fun-filled day of storytelling and imagination as Cliff Hughes Online and the E-Zone celebrates Read Across Jamaica Day with a special live outside broadcast from Seawood Primary and Infant School. Join us on Tuesday, May 6th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. as we bring the joy of reading to life with exciting book readings and engaging conversations. Expect exciting prizes and surprises. So, tune in to Cliff Hughes Online and the E-Zone on May 6th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's Read Across Jamaica Day at Seawood Primary and Infant School. Catch the live stream on Nationwide 90 FM's YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by Chris and Charles, Pressbox Printers, Guardian Group's Shine 5K, Cozy Corner Books and more, eLearning Jamaica, and Kingston Bookshop.
Party promoters and event planners. Promote your party or event with an affordable nationwide 90 FM party package. Never leave your patrons misinformed. Get repeat advertisement for your event. Do you have tickets or prizes to give away? Do it on Nationwide 90 FM. Come do an interview about your event. Share your event's artwork on our social media platforms. Any update or information you want to provide about your event, do it with an affordable Nationwide 90 FM party package. For more information, call our sales team at 876-630-1210 or sales@nationwidenewsnetwork.com. Party promoters and event planners. Promote your party or event on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton, weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
This time signal is sponsored by Janet Global Accreditation, an agency of the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. The time is now
6:42. Good evening. Thank you so much for staying with us here Nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks.
We're inside the nation's business. And in the nation's business this evening, I'm thinking how many times I've done this story. It's all about the Jamaica Teaching Council bill. Yeah? Today, the president of the Jamaica Teachers Association, Dr. Mark Smith, had a press briefing in which he dismissed claims that the JTA is not in support of the bill. He was speaking at the JTA's head offices in downtown Kingston today. The bill was passed in the Senate with bipartisan support 2 weeks ago.
Now, listeners, it's just one step away from being signed into law. It has to now be passed by the House of Representatives. And as you've been hearing, it's been languishing before the Parliament now for more than 2 decades. Just days after it was passed in the Senate, the opposition PMP had a media briefing, and they highlighted what they said were several flaws with the bill, which they're calling for the government to address. The JTA has also criticized the bill, claiming that several of the recommendations that they made before the Joint Select Committee, those recommendations, they say, were ignored.
But according to Dr. Smith, the president, the JTA supports the establishment of a regulatory body to advance the country's teaching profession. On Sunday, Dr. Smith said the bill is a betrayal of educators.
I take this opportunity to urge the government to address the significant flaws within the Teaching Council bill. The JTA, after 2 decades of staunch advocacy on this bill, feels betrayed, as the bill in its present form demonstrates no meaningful effort to address the critical concerns raised of the teachers of Jamaica. As a union with over 20,000 members, we stand ready to take all possible actions to halt what I can only characterize as a travesty. This bill must not be put into law in its current form. The teachers of Jamaica will not accept what we consider a betrayal.
That's Dr. Mark Smith, the JTA president. He joins us now. Good evening, Dr. Smith.
Good evening.
Now, Dr. Smith, if you call it a betrayal, if you call it a travesty, how can you then say you're not right? How can you then say you're not opposed to it?
Well, good evening, gentlemen.
Good
it is
evening.
really when you take it into context that you start to understand the nuance in our position. So first of all, in principle, we embrace the idea of the bill. So there is no issue about that. We embrace what it is seeking to achieve. What we have are significant concerns in terms of aspects of the bill. And we can all understand that you're going to find that there are statutes, there are clauses within the bill, there are sections that we have significant concerns with. But the principle of the bill about professionalizing the teaching service through a licensing regime we embrace, that would move our education or teaching service from a quasi-profession to a profession that is in keeping with the other professional groups within the island. And so, I go to great pains to explain that we are not against the principle of the bill, right? Mm-hmm. And in fact, when we look at, there are sections there that talk about some of the disqualifiers, rapists, people who watch child pornography, and it goes through a whole list of things. We support that. There's no problem with that. I've seen in some circles where it's being hijacked to indicate that we want that. No, we are saying we do not support those activities, and we embrace those as issues that need to be the forefront of ensuring we don't allow individuals that are charged or involved in those activities to be a part of our grouping as teachers. However,
right.
there are other areas.
So what sections do you consider to be the travesty and the betrayal?
All right. For instance, the whole concept of when you think about it, natural justice, and you look at subsection 50, subsection 1A, which deals with the whole ability to face your accuser. We can have individuals anonymously writing to the council and thus laying an accusation, a charge that will then trigger an investigation on a teacher. How it is outlined in the bill, you would not even have to update the principle on this. And so you have an adjacent body that is carrying out investigations on teachers, thus usurping the authority of a board. It has primarily been the responsibility of the board, working in tandem with the administrators, to treat with disciplinary matters for teachers. We have now opened another avenues for separation of teachers from their jobs. Now, one could envision a situation in which someone uses this to harass someone, since you don't have to face your accuser. At no point it permits the opportunity for you to come in. And this is something that, speaking to our lawyers, is a significant concern that exists. We are advised that we should wait, and it could be worked out in the regulations. And so then we will be hoping that by going along with this, it will be rectified at a later date. I don't think that would be in the best interest of the teachers of this country, or we would not be worth our salt as a union if we signed on to that. That is one principle.
So I just read sections 50, 51, and 52, and your issue is with what clause?
That which speaks to the ability of our accuser. Let me just bring.
Yes, a person who alleges that a registered teacher, a licensed teacher, or an instructor has failed to comply with a condition imposed on the registration as a teacher may make a written complaint. Upon receipt of the complaint under Section 50, the council shall, based on the circumstances, refer the complaint to the Ministry with responsibility for education, refer the complaint to the board of the relevant educational institution or the other employer of the licensed teacher or instructor, as the case may be, for investigation, or conduct an inquiry into the complaint pursuant to Section 53. The ministry may, Section 52 says, in writing, designate persons to conduct an investigation into any complaint received from the council under Section 51. Upon completing the investigation, the person designated by the ministry and the board or the employer shall report the findings of the investigation. That sounds reasonable to me.
So nowhere in that does it make provisions, right? It makes provisions. And we have sat with constitutional lawyers around this to say that it is not enough, including that, to make provisions for you to face in a hearing that we have in schools under the Education Regulation 1980. It provides for anybody lodging an accusation, making an accusation against you, to have you cross-examine them in the hearing. This is not the situation.
But Dr. Smith, Section 51B, that the complaint be referred to the board of the relevant educational institution or the other employer of the licensed teacher or instructor, as the case may be, for investigation. As it stands now, if a school board is investigating, my understanding is that the accused has a right of response. And this doesn't seem to change that if the matter is referred to the board.
Sorry, I was here. Please repeat.
Sure. Section 51B, yes, no problem. Section 51B says that the complaint shall be referred to the board of the relevant educational institution or the other employer or the licensed teacher or instructor, as the case may be, for investigation. I'm saying in the status quo, if a matter is referred to the board for investigation, the accused has a right to respond. The board usually affords them that right. So this section doesn't seem to change that.
No, what it also, the council pursuant to disciplinary hearing has the power to suspend registration, author to teach, revoke or suspend the license. Currently, disciplinary action can be taken against a teacher for the avoidance, and this is in Article 60, subsection 6. For the avoidance of doubt, where a registered teacher, licensed teacher, or instructor has been discharged or acquitted of an offense. Now, this is particular where we have an even greater concern, because during the period that you
I'm sorry, Dr. Smith, before we get to Section 60, your initial challenge was in Section 50. So I was just trying to understand, what was that challenge? The section dealing with discipline.
Without having a hearing. Right, so you can't be taken in isolation. You can't take it in silos. The point is that the council has the power to suspend your license while an investigation is being carried out. If that occurs, it means that that teacher has been disenfranchised from the ability to earn in one set. It means that you can literally be acquitted of a charge by the board, and the council opens an investigation separate and apart from the investigation being carried out by the board.
So you'd want the board to remain the final authority?
Right. So they are right. So you end up with two avenues by which you could end up being separated from your job. And that is fundamentally one of the concerns that our lawyers pointed out.
But in the status quo, where the composition of boards, we've seen challenges in terms of who makes up the board, the sway a principal may have over the board, cronyism in schools. Is that such a bad thing that an external body to the board can have a look at the allegations, depending on how serious they are?
All right. When you talk about the school board, we do have an education officer, which represents the Ministry of Education, that can be invited to sit in and observe the proceedings. And so that would be an independent arbiter that could then raise concerns if there is any type of collusion as relates to or any questionable actions on the part of the board to try and get the person acquitted or to in any way mess with the natural course of justice.
But isn't it true that sometimes the education officers themselves went to school, teachers' college, maybe with some of these teachers, members of the board, perhaps?
I think that's
principals?
I think that's a bit of a stretch. I think the
Is
entire
it?
system is wrong. Well, if that's the case, then it would add credence to the argument why we think that the minister has too much power to stack the council. All that is add credence to our argument, because we're saying political interference.
But you also have significant representation on the council as currently comprised, or the proposal, don't you, as teachers?
But I'm a former education officer. I can't tell that in all the years I've been working that I encountered a lot of individuals on boards that were related to me in some way, or I knew them in some way. I mean, that I think is a bit of a stretch. But point taken.
Dr. Smith, another issue the JTA has had is the composition of the teaching council.
Yes.
Where you have been asking for the composition to be dominated by teachers. Is that so?
We would like significantly more teachers on the board. But at one point in the early iteration of the council, it was 19. We had 5. It was then moved to 31. We end up with 6 members on it, right? So there was some adjustment there, but if you were to look at it percentage-wise, you start to realize that it actually less. But fundamentally, we are willing to make compromises. And in an era when it seems so difficult for groups to compromise, we're saying to the government, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's not what we're advocating for.
So what is the compromise you're prepared to accept now?
Compromise allow us to have a greater say in the quorum. So the quorum presently is at 11 out of 31 individuals, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have put forward the notion that of the individuals who have been selected by the association representing teachers, we would have 5 of those individuals, right? So we would then constitute, or 6, even more. We'd be willing to take a little bit more, yeah.
So you'd want to give the JTA the majority of members necessary to constitute a quorum?
A quorum, because you would not want people going off and having a meeting dealing with the profession itself, yeah. And then most of those individuals are either not teachers or are teachers that maybe have some political affiliation, because it just speaks to 5 teachers.
But isn't that a recipe for stalling proceedings of the council? If the JTA does not name those members and a quorum can never be reached, what happens to the work of the council?
Well, I would not like to think that that is something that would be of value to the association. I can't imagine that being of value to the association.
Well, we've heard of stories of boards trying to discipline teachers, and the representative just never shows up, and so the meetings never happen. You've never heard of that, Dr. Smith?
I am sure there's a nuance to that story that we can explore at another time.
Oh, but you have heard of those allegations?
I have heard of similar ideas.
Right. And so I'm saying, in your proposal, your response to Cliff, what would happen in a situation where those allegations come up again? What would happen to the work of the council?
Fundamentally, we are saying if we get 5 individuals who are individuals aligned with the association representing teachers and not with the political directorate, I think that bodes well for teachers and the operation of the council.
And that's 5 of the 11 that constitute the quorum.
Or 6.
So about 5 educators. We need 11. The other 6 are not necessary. So, but we could expand it. You could have you'd have 7, and allow the JTA 5 of those 7, and the other 2. So you invariably you would be able to have some level of compromise around that.
Dr. Smith, this bill is now political. It's now a political issue, unfortunately. After 20 years and many to and froing, and the recent passage in the Senate, and it became the subject of a political media briefing. It is now an issue on the political platform. I see where the opposition spokesman on education dragged you yesterday because you appealed for the politics to be left out of this issue. Yeah. First of all, how are we going to avoid that now, given the political silly season we're in? Is that possible?
Thank you, Cliff. Well, I'm making an appeal, and even in my press conference today, I have made an appeal for us to understand that this bill has gone through both political parties when they have held power. So this is not a JLP or a PNP issue. This is about a bill that has some significant challenges, or we have some significant challenges with. And it's not about which political party as a member that you support, or how it is that the political party like play it in the general scheme of things, but about the resolution to the concerns that has been raised by the union, and has very little to do with politics, but we understand it is being hijacked for that. I would like to encourage, those individuals out there to really leave it out of the political space. Education is too important to us as a nation for us to be using it as a political football. We need to focus with laser-like precision on creating a compromise so that we can get this bill passed. In essence, we're saying, let's fix the bill, right? We have been what I consider very reliable partners in improving the quality of the bill. And unfortunately, most of what we have put forward has really fallen on deaf ears. And we are saying, Minister, we want to hold hands and sing Kumbaya and get this bill through, but it cannot go in its present form without what I consider creating great injustice or heaping great injustice upon the teachers.
And when you say falling on deaf ears, meaning deaf ears that of the legislators from both of the political parties?
Indeed, Cliff, over 20 years, we have had JLP ministers of government, we have had PNP ministers of government. And across both political parties, we have seen what I would only classify as a level of recalcitrance towards addressing the substantive issues that we have raised. And that is where we are making the appeal for common sense to prevail. Listen, at the end of the day, we want to see more coming together of the minds around the issues that we have outlined. We have some concern. When you look at fitness to teach, section 1, subsection 1B, one does not meet the professional standards for teaching. No, to be honest, we would like to ensure that that is clearly defined. What are these professional standards? We're told they will come later. That is dangerous. So you want us to sign on to something without that particular clause. We believe that needs to be fleshed out. What are these professional standards? List these things so that we are quite aware of what it is that we're dealing with. Again, the concept of retrying a person after you have gone to your board has acquitted you on a particular charge, and then for a person to come back and try again on the same charge. Again, that does not resonate well with us in terms of what we have come to accept as natural justice. We speak about probably something many people don't even envision, the idea of what it will mean for operation of our institutions. In an era when we are struggling with massive teacher shortages, particularly sometimes in these technical areas, we are now going to have to move towards, struggling with this concept of how do you get a teacher who is, let's say, a math teacher. And presently, as a principal, I can send my math teacher down to physics class and say, listen, you did physics in K. Hold that class for me because I can't find a physics teacher. Under this present bill, that teacher would literally be breaking the law. And he could look at me and say, no, sir, I'm not going down there. No, I can't find a teacher. So what happened to these students? These are the real operational issues. We're talking about funding of this particular, the fees that are going to be heaped upon the teachers. We would like it to be clearly stated that it be 0.5% or 1% of a teacher's monthly income. Now, that ensures you time-proof it, so we don't have to worry about some of these poorly worded bills we have seen in the past, where you say $50, $100, $100,000, because over time, money value and changes. And so on, inflation will erode how it is that you're able to have an impact, because then it's supposed to be a type of opportunity to have people see it as a deterrent. And so if you think about it, we have put forward what I think are some common sense recommendations for amendments. When you look at even the excessive fines, Cliff, to be honest, between $500,000 to $1.5 million.
A fine for what?
Fines for not without a license, $500,000. If we talk about an omission on your submission for a fine, that could go up to as high as $1.5 million. Again, and listen, what I've done now, Cliff, I've taken the opportunity to read through the the Nurses and Midwife Act. I have gone and we have read the Medical
Council
Act, right? So we are looking and we are saying, Align. I had a discussion with a colleague of mine who serves as an advisor in Scotland. It's Avis Glaze. Remarkable lady, a lot of experience, and we're talking about Ontario. She served there in senior positions on their board, and she said what they did was to look at other professions, similar professions, and see what the fines are in the 1990s, and that is how they developed. And what we're saying is engage in that process.
We've been engaging in that process for 20 years, Dr. Smith.
You've not been listening to us, Cliff. There's a difference between you sitting down and listening to me talk, and then actioning any of the things I've recommended.
Yeah, Dr. Smith.
About this gestation period. It could be 20 years. It could have been 5 years. What is most important to us as a union is the fact that you are listening to the teachers and they're saying, hey, could you amend this? We're not saying kill it. We're saying amend this, adjust this. And I think that's a reasonable position. Mm-hmm. When you look at the nurses, the first offense, $200,000. Second offense, teaching with operating as a nurse without a license, $400,000. No, for the teachers, it's one go, $500,000. Again, we're asking, where's the parity? Why are we being singled out and treated differently?
If I could just go back to two things you said, Dr. Smith, the operational issue of having a shortage of a math teacher and asking a physics teacher to fill in.
The math teacher physics, right?
Right. Why do you think the licensing regime would prevent that? Because it seems to me that when I read the section about licensing, it speaks to just granting a general license to teach. Why do you think it's subject specific?
No, from our understanding and reading, it will be licensed within the area. Yeah, so you'll be licensed as a physics teacher, as a chemistry teacher, as a math teacher. So you can't just go on as a teacher, another subject. You have to be just a general teaching license.
But it says here license in this bill means a license to practice as a teacher granted by the council. So why do you think that?
I can't recall the exact section, but there's another section there that speaks within your area of specialization. If we talk about within your area of specialization, that would be speaking about the content. So there, one of the things probably I think I can credit the bill with is the fact that they have decided not to use the typical examination way, but to use a portfolio model. And we've had some discussion about what that would look like. So again, showing evidence of your practice. Right? And in different jurisdictions, we have seen different models used. But certainly, what is important is that we have to be careful. And so there are some other questions we have. Some of these things we're still awaiting responses to our multiple submissions. And I can show you some of the documents.
Right, and that's where I wanted to take you, because I think the Joint Select Committee had 45 meetings thereabout. How many of those meetings did the JTA attend?
The JTA attended 2 of those. We were invited to present at 2 of those meetings. As you know, when we go in, if you're not asked to present, you cannot speak, right? So in 2 instances, Paul Adams was present at the time when the first submission was made to the Joint Select Committee. And then Winston Smith, I believe this was in 2022. That was the last we were invited to say. Now, as I said, to the credit of the minister, she has said, Mr. President, put it in writing, your concerns, and let us look at it. However, we would like it to be more than just a consideration. I push home this point that if I ask you what color you want your room to be painted in, and you tell me blue, and then I turn around and paint it in orange, or pink, and I turn around and say, hold on, why I didn't tell you? I said, well, I considered your opinion. That's how I kind of feel about this whole thing. But that despite, I said betrayal, it is not of the present administration. What we're just seeing is that over time we've been talking about this.
Right.
And for all the work we have done on it, what we have realized at this point, is that we've just moved ahead.
But it sounds to me, Dr. Smith, that you want all your recommendations to be accepted. In the process of lawmaking and legislating, there are multiple stakeholders that have to be considered. So if the Parliament cannot or will not accept all your recommendations, is that grounds for the JTA to just say we're going to take up our marbles and we're not going to support this?
Certainly not. We are good partners, and what we have said, there are some of them which are certainly aligned in the sand, you know. But there are others that we say, okay, you know, we can't deal with this, or you will deal with this in the regulation. We can understand. Could we have something in writing to say this is how you intend to treat with this aspect of it? We are willing to do it. We want to have that conversation. But what has happened is that we had two joint select presentation to the Joint Select Committees, and we have just pretty much been in limbo. When we engage with them, we're told that we have taken consideration all that you've submitted. We have been told it multiple times. So we looked forward to see that all of these recommendations that we have put forward, they would have been meaningfully integrated into it, or at least have influenced the final outcome. It is shocking when we look to see that a lot of them, a majority of the things they have taken into account are primarily grammatical errors and structural issues in terms of how things are worded. And we're saying that is not enough. If we are arbiters, if we are a part of this partnership, and that's what I stress to the minister, the need for us to partner around this. We want to be a part of the transformation of the teaching service. But it cannot be that we are locked on the outside while this process is being carried forward.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're asking for.
Next steps. What does the JTA do next?
Well, certainly, we have a raft of options ahead of us. At this time, it would be not prudent of me to articulate exactly what the next step is, but we will be meeting with our various bodies. We have various structures internally, and so we have to get approval before we take any specific action. And we will, of course, be able to keep the press of what our plans are.
But you're not ruling out your trump card?
We have looked at
Dr. Smith smiles.
Options. I say you're very keen on trying to get me to commit to something. But
No, I'm just asking because you sounded pretty strident. I think it was on Sunday.
Yes, we have a toolkit, and you have a tweezer in the toolkit. We have screwdriver, we have hammer, we have sledgehammer. And I'm never a man to want to rush to use a sledgehammer, all right? So we want to use what I call soft diplomacy to see if we can work through this.
And you have a teachers' party ready and willing and waiting to help.
Certainly. We have our teachers mobilized, engaged, wanting to be a part of what I hope will be coming together of the minds to resolve this issue.
All right, Dr. Smith. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it as always, Dr. Smith.
Pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me.
All right,
Good.
have a good one.
11 minutes after 7 o'clock.
Miss your share from the NWC's bucket full of goodies? Don't worry. The debt amnesty package has been extended for another 2 months. From now until May 31, you could benefit from debt write-offs. To find out if you qualify for benefits under the amnesty package, don't delay. Let's hear from you today. Dial 888-225-5692 or 888 code NWC. The NWC Debt Amnesty, a part of our bucket full of goodies.
The Watchman. Exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional. Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. Asapha Powell's pain. There is a wise old metaphor worth heeding. Never speak out of anger. Once spoken, one's words like arrows cannot be recalled and may cause unintended harm to others or to oneself. One cannot be certain what was the mental and emotional state of one of Jamaica's most loved athletes, Asapha Powell, when he posted comments on social media that have gone viral. His words have caused confusion and disappointment among many who look up to him as a nationalist who loves his sport and his country. This is some of what he said. I quote in part, "I got just country pride and all that stuff. I've never gotten anything from the country. I ran free all my life. That's not what I want my kids to do. I was offered millions of US dollars in 2000 to run for a different country. If I knew then what I know now, I would have taken it. If the support system don't change, my kid's not running for Jamaica." The words of an obviously bitter Asafa Powell posted on social media. Usain Bolt's trainer, Glenn Mills, a man given to philosophizing about life, tried to give context to Asafa's remonstration. In an April 5, 2025 television interview, he said, I quote, "There needs to be a structure through which athletes who qualify are able to apply for some kind of grant." End quote by Glenn Mills. Let's admit it. Jamaica does not approach sport generally, and athletics in particular, as an industry to invest in. The same is true for music. The attitude of our governments toward sport and music has been like that of the poor man who, given the goose that laid the golden egg for a present, killed and ate it for his Christmas dinner. That must change if Jamaica is to gain greater rewards from more of our gifted sons and daughters breaking through to stardom. Is that what Asafa Powell was trying to draw attention to? His pain seems to be more personal, as if the country owes him something more than the privilege of being born Jamaican and the unrestricted ambition to rise from obscurity and poverty to be the world-renowned athlete and millionaire he is today. Contrast his attitude with that of another iconic athlete of yesteryear, Bertland Cameron, who neither achieved Asafa's fame or fortune. In a just concluded two-part series on TVJ's profile, Cameron exuded love for country, despite the many struggles throughout his career, and satisfaction with his decision to return to the land of his birth to work with kids who, like himself, have talent, but not the means to go to the next level. He bemoans not achieving the coveted Olympic gold medal, but he has found purpose in the grand scheme of life. This is an opportune time to invoke the wisdom of President John F. Kennedy through one of his most memorable quotes. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
Multi-link, access every time, everywhere I go. Multi-link, 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use multi-link. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the Multilink logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multi-link, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my Multi-link?
Answer's Mother's Day sale up to 70% off. Up to 70% off the best brands for mom. Answer's Gifts at Home, Tropical Plaza, and Answer's for Children, Tropical Plaza and Sovereign Center. Answer's Mother's Day sale till May 17, 2025.
Every day, we use our feet to walk, run, and take us to amazing places. But your feet can do something even more amazing. A simple step can change a life. Join Guardian Group's Shine 5K Night Run, formerly the Keep It Alive 5K, and make us try to support the Noel Holmes Hospital, the Bustamante Hospital for Children, and Project Star. Saturday, May 10 in Kingston and Saturday, May 24 in Montego Bay. New name, but same epic vibe. Register today at run2shineja.com or runningeventsja.com and see you at Shine 2025.
19 minutes after 7 o'clock. We're into the third and final hour now of Nationwide at 5. We're going to turn to the University of the West Indies. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks.
Vice-Chancellor of UWI, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, is calling on regional governments to invest more in the institution. He made the call while addressing the annual council meeting of the university in Trinidad and Tobago recently. The UWI has major campuses at Mona, Jamaica, St. Augustine in Trinidad and Tobago, Cave Hill in Barbados, and 5 islands in Antigua and Barbuda.
Sir Hilary says over the years the UWI has been experiencing a budget shortfall. He says government funding has fallen from 90% of the UWI's operational budget to under 50%.
We continue to be focused in our management of the enterprise. We started out with the one UWI vision. Many of us have attended universities in the North Atlantic, the USA, Canada, England, and elsewhere. And these were mostly single campus universities. But we are a multi-campus university. And when we aggregate all of the work of all of our campuses and we put it together, it is greater than the vast majority of universities in the North Atlantic. And that was our great discovery, that when we aggregated our research and its impact, the ranking agency was able to say that our output is phenomenal. And that is why in the research category, under the pillar of research citation and impact, that is where we scored highest in the global rankings. And in terms of the impact of our research in our economy, society, and cultural spaces, that is where we got the perfect score. The impact of our work in our communities. Health, education, agriculture, you name it. We have been having a profound impact in the development of our societies. And so, in the year, we deepen our sense of responsibility for the financial and the fiscal challenges that we have been experiencing. Understand this, colleagues. The big question which is always put to me in the community of vice-chancellors around the world is this: how have you folks at UWI, how have you been able to establish such an impressive global elite university in a region that has not had sustained economic growth in 30 years? How have you been able to do this? This has been the question I'm always asked to answer. And it is because in this university there's a profound sense of ownership and of commitment. For most of us, for most of you, the service you give to this university is not simply professional. It's a passion. It's a cause. Building this university to serve the people who deserve to have a first-class university. And it's a commitment to that that brought us inexorably to this space where we said, okay, our governments, because we are a public university, are challenged. We're funding this university at the level that they would wish. And we have experienced as a result of that a shortfall in our budgetary processes. And this is significant. This is significant. The governments have been carrying this university from the very beginning. In the year in review, the governments have been funding 48% of our operational costs. But I well remember, as a young administrator, when the governments were funding 90% of our operational budget. And it's gone from 90 to 80 to 70, and now it's under 50. The result of that is very clear. It is not that the governments do not wish to keep a higher level of investment. It is the challenge of spreading, diminishing resources across the multi-sectoral platforms of this region. Agriculture needs investment. Technology and transformation requires investment. There are so many other areas competing for the public purse. But what we do know is this. What we do know is this. When economies grow and there is a perception of a surplus, the governments have always shared that surplus with us. And I know this as a principle. When the economy was growing, we got a larger share. But also when it was shrinking, we were also told to brace ourselves. So we've done this. We have done this. And I want to say, though, again to make the distinction, when I say that the government investment by way of meeting student costs and infrastructural costs has come from 90 down to 48% of the operational budget, it isn't that the absolute amount of money invested is diminishing. On the contrary, the amount has been growing over the decades. This is the relative relationships of the government contribution to the overall budget. But the absolute sum that is given to us by the governments over the last 30, 40 years has been steadily growing. So it's not a diminishing of the absolute amount. It's the diminishing of the relative relationship of the government contribution to the overall budget.
A big issue, Ricardo, and it has been an issue with us for the last 40, 50 years, how to finance tertiary education in particular. Yeah? And the point Beckles makes about when the economies grow, then there's a greater share of funding for the research, the regional research university. A classic example of that is the University of Guyana, where they are now booming with the newly discovered oil wealth. The University of Guyana has seen the level of funding from the public purse in Guyana shoot up, because it has more. Where what's happening with us, where the rest of the region is concerned, growth is anemic at best, if not stagnant. Therefore, the share of funding is going to be accordingly reduced. And that's a challenge. And are we getting value
for that money?
Are we studying, researching the issues that are now critical to Caribbean societies in 2025 going 2030?
And that's where there's been some amount of disagreement between the leadership of the university and education ministers, governments across the region, because they say they want to see the UE do more to meet the needs of the Caribbean looking into the future, while UE is saying we are doing enough. So But another problem the professor highlighted, Beckles says the UE has the lowest ratio of high schoolers moving on to tertiary education in the Western Hemisphere.
Really?
He says the university will have to become entrepreneurial in order to sustain growth and its quality.
And so we have a built-in issue here. How do we grow this university? Because we cannot go back. We have to keep growing. And why do we have to keep growing? Because we're not in a comfortable space. Less than 15% of our school leavers go on to university. This is far too low. In fact, it is the lowest ratio in our hemisphere. It is the lowest in our hemisphere. We need to have up to 30-40% of our school leavers and college leavers going on to tertiary education. So we cannot pull back and diminish our student population to fit within a restricted and diminishing budget. We cannot do that. We have to keep growing. To serve the interests of this region, we have to keep expanding the number of people coming into our university at multiple levels. And so what this chart here does is to say that we, the University Management Chancellor, will take responsibility for finding the financial resources necessary to fill the gap between what the governments are investing and what we need to keep growing. And this chart here calls into being the entrepreneurial university. That the university must now be far more entrepreneurial in the search of income generation from multiple sources, but effectively by generating commercial resources through the transformation of our research into product for market. And this was deepened in the year in review, and there were some very impressive results from our campuses along this trajectory. So we can now establish that the university has indeed now become an entrepreneurial university in search of income from the market economy in order to sustain our growth and our quality. So we have called it within the strategic plan, Chancellor, UWI's revenue revolution. And we chose that concept because we wanted to address the matter head on. What is required is a revenue revolution driven internally by our campuses. We addressed it head on and we said, this is what we are going to do. We have already had the reputation revolution reflected in our global rankings. So yes, we are a highly respected global university at the top of our game. However, we have to convert that reputation into revenue. And this is the stage of our development as we come to conclusion of the first quarter of this century. And this is where we are going.
Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Sir Hilary Beckles. Yeah? He was addressing the university's annual council meeting. We're going to go for a break, and after the break, it'll be time for your calls. You know the numbers, 630-937-124, 618-8255.
Every day, we use our feet to walk, run, and take us to amazing places. But your feet can do something even more amazing. A simple step can change a life. Join Guardian Group's Shine 5K Night Run, formerly the Keep It Alive 5K, and make us try to support the Noel Holmes Hospital, the Bustamante Hospital for Children, and Project STAR. Saturday, May 10 in Kingston and Saturday, May 24 in Montego Bay. New name, but same epic vibe. Register today at run2shineja.com or runningeventsja.com and see you at Shine 2025.
Get ready for a fun-filled day of storytelling and imagination as Cliff Hughes Online and the E-Zone celebrates Read Across Jamaica Day with a special live outside broadcast from Seawood Primary and Infant School. Join us on Tuesday, May 6th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. as we bring the joy of reading to life with exciting book readings and engaging conversations. Expect exciting prizes and surprises. So, tune in to Cliff Hughes Online and the E-Zone on May 6th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's Read Across Jamaica Day at Seawood Primary and Infant School. Catch the live stream on Nationwide 90 FM's YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by Chris and Charles, Pressbox Printers, Guardian Group's Shine 5K, Cozy Corner Books and more, eLearning Jamaica, and Kingston Bookshop.
Anthony, good evening. You're up first.
Good evening, Anthony.
Hey, Ricardo.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ricardo. Good evening, Cliff. How are you?
Doing all right. How are you?
We're fine.
All right. So, the media index that came out last week, Chris and Ricardo, I wanted to talk about that. And the quick response out of the box by Miss Burchell. When I saw the PNP's statement, I was really taken aback because I was wondering if it was a different Jamaica in terms of what was happening and stuff, and for them to try to blame the government, and it just solidify a point that is always in my head in terms of, and my word now, where the PNP try to take Jamaicans for fools and stuff. And to rub salt into wounds just after that release came out and stuff. No less a person than the person who considered himself the brightest person in Jamaica was saying, oh, nationwide a campaign for JLP and whatever and all of those things. And it hurts me because I think I can't talk for any other station, but I listen to Nationwide regularly, religiously. And I think that this station, more than any other place in Jamaica, provide Damian, and let me call his name, Damian Crawford, the space and time to do a lot of stuff. So if you guys were biased, as they try to claim, then why would you provide an avenue? At one point, Damian had a show on Nationwide and stuff.
Yes,
and
yes.
I know Cliff and Ricardo, you guys may not want to say it, but they need to stop it because you guys provided an avenue for them. If they have something to say, they can come and say it. If they refuse whenever a situation comes up and whatever and all of those things, what you must stop your reporting or whatever to please them? No, that's not how it goes. You understand what I'm saying?
Here's what
they are the cause. They are the reason why we fall in the index. Most of their action, Dayton Campbell and company, all of them and political platform bashing Nationwide. Mark Golding went overseas speaking to a group of Jamaicans, bashing the media. All the media is being bought out or whatever and all of those things. They don't think that the persons who measure these indexes are listening. They don't want to come through it and the government.
And I'll tell you something, Anthony, which I found very strange. It's one thing when you have, and you can perhaps call them rogue members of a political party going on a platform and attacking journalists or the media. That's one thing. It's another thing entirely when the party itself seems to have taken a position, an institutional position, that it will attack a specific media house by name repeatedly. Over the last year, the People's National Party has issued no fewer than 6 media releases I could find easily, attacking this media house by name. And that's an institutional choice, not a rogue politician or a rogue member who is just upset. That comes with the voice and authority of the organization. Absolutely. Of the organization. So it was more than a little strange to me when I heard and saw Miss Burchell's comment. I invited her here this afternoon. She declined.
I am not surprised. I am not surprised.
She said she did not receive clearance.
And stuff. Well, that's what the party has become now, because whenever they speak without receiving clearance, even if what they're saying is the truth, and I use the bill that passed in the Senate recently, they have to quickly go and call press conference to retract because they didn't get clearance and stuff and all of that. Right? But that's what it is. One quick other thing before I run for other persons to come on. I heard Senator Bunting making a statement in regards to the Prime Minister's attendance to Mr. Bolt's father's funeral. And I am not even going to repeat what he said, but it is so insipid and distasteful for somebody who should know better. As a banker, who should know better. And these are the reasons why the well-thinking people of Jamaica, whenever the time comes to make a choice, they should look at these things and decide who they want or who they think is credible to run the country of Jamaica.
Anthony, I have a take on it, you see. The People's National Party has obviously taken a position which is best characterized by slash and burn. Yeah? Where everything you've got, you throw at it. Yeah? And hope that something sticks. Yeah?
Yes.
So there's no strategy beyond that. Everything must be criticized. Everything must be denigrated unless they are in line with the central thinking of the party. Because when I heard Mr. Bunting criticizing the Prime Minister's attendance at Mr. Bolt's funeral yesterday, I said, so what if the Prime Minister or the government had not gone to Mr. Bolt's funeral? Yeah? You would have been, you would have heard a similar line of attack. Yeah?
Exactly.
And that to me reflects the thinking of Mark Golding's PNP today. It is disorganized in terms of its strategy and how to campaign, yes, and it is schizophrenic, frankly. Just look at, today we're in support of the JTC bill. Damian Crawford stands up in the Senate and commends the minister, yeah. And what does he do? 72 hours later, he denigrates it. That is sign of schizophrenia. Yeah. And it's a party without a strategy, without some thinking as to how to approach this. And they're just shooting, and who get lick.
And my challenge is, when you talk about slash and burn, if you burn it all down and then you intend to rule it, what are you going to rule? You're going to be king of the ashes?
Exactly.
That's been my question, When you burn it all down, what are you going to rule over?
Nothing.
Ricardo Cliff, it is sad for people like us who believe in the democracy and would really want to see positive debate, persons debating on critical issues and come and show, okay, they're doing this, it is credible or whatever. But guess what? If we should get power, this is how we would improve on it, or this is what we would do, or this is what our plan going forward. But I mean, I have been watching the politics for some time now, and this is the lowest I've ever seen. It is. It's the lowest, and it's really sad. It's really sad.
Yeah. Thanks, Anthony.
Have a good evening. Yeah, man.
But the reality is, what is to come? The PNP has never spent 3 consecutive terms in opposition.
That's a fact.
Right.
Since its formation
absolutely.
in 38.
So one can almost understand that there's a certain level of desperation, fear.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
that
real.
It could be in opposition
yeah.
for 15, 20 years.
Yeah, one can understand that. But as you said, there has to be some strategic approach to how you will retake state power.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be that you just throw everything at the wall and hope and pray that something sticks.
And it is sad because the PNP has been ahead of the Labour Party in terms of that ability to sit, think, study, and innovate. Yeah, when it comes to national issues, it has been ahead of the Labour Party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into the whole thing about the PNP being a party of intellectuals versus Labour and whatever. Yeah, that's for another evening. But to see the People's National Party today floundering as to what it will be fighting a general election campaign on. What is the platform? What is the plank? Yeah? Because it has not taken the last 4 or 5 years of opposition to sit down and do that introspection. So therefore you get what you're now getting. Peter Bunting, making that stupid statement about the Prime Minister and the government members at Bolt's father's funeral. You see what we saw with Damien Crawford,
mm-hmm.
And the JTC bill, because they are not sitting down and saying, listen, move A, they're going to do this, so we will do this. You go get ready with that piece of research and plan.
But is that a consequence of a leadership that's bereft of the sort of deep reservoir of knowledge, political know-how that would perhaps characterize the PNP of the past that you've talked about?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the leadership tier now, there's really nobody there who has that kind of deep reservoir. So that might be part of the problem.
That is the problem. It is the problem that, with the greatest of respect, what it has in its leadership now, Golding, politically immature, poor political instincts. Dayton Campbell, politically immature as well, and really rough around the edges, doesn't have the kind of intellectual heft that you need. When you look at Bunting, I get the impression, observing Bunting, that he's tired. You don't have the experience of a Burchell Whiteman,
Maxine Henry Wilson,
a Pattison, who had that long stretch, at the highest level, nationally, regionally, internationally. It is bereft of that kind of leadership, and it's being exposed when you compare them with an administration that for the first time in 45, 50 years, the 2 biggest issues that have dominated election campaigns in Jamaica over that period of time, crime and unemployment, you don't have those on the table anymore. Just think about it. Crime and unemployment are waning as issues that dominate political discourse and a campaign. So they're struggling. That is why they latched on to the illicit 6 and hoped that would see Holness being arrested and charged. Take that away, and what do you have?
The cracks.
And the schizophrenic behavior.
Who is next? J.E., good evening.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, J.E. J.E.?
J.E., yeah.
Yes, man. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. You guys, I'm a sick person, but whenever I hear you guys on the radio, I'm so healthy and feel so good. You always nail on the head. I was coming with 2 issues about Anthony already, but you see, Peter Bunting from Rhoda Crawford hit him in his head with a big stick, at that election 2020. Then I get over it, because I can't know why Peter Bunting come up with this. It is so distasteful. But anyway, I'm not gonna get in it because I've done it already and you guys already do the narratives. But I just want to send out a message to Floyd Morris and remind him that, I don't know why PNP is so shallow, If you remember 2020 election, Peter Phillips come up and say, call it, Andrew, call it. If you call it June, we are going to win. If you call it July, we are going to win. If you call it August, we are going to win. Who win? The Jamaica Labour Party. Them two are now, I don't know what is happening in the PNP party. I don't support that party, but I always say them that president that they are so unified. They always sort out. I don't know what is happening, but you see, because the leader don't have, I don't know if I should use this on the reader, because I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, don't use it. If you're not sure, don't use it.
Yeah, you see the leader not mature, and everybody's following him. They said the head of the stream is don't slack the followers. The bottom cannot be good either. So this is what I have to say. On the Floyd Morris is listening. She must rewind and remember that was the word Peter Phillips used to use on a platform in the 2020 general election. You have a nice night. And Mr. Hughes,
yes, ma'am.
Your pick is so good. I admire your staff. I admire all the staff, and you live as a CEO. You're just one. You work with some boss. You're afraid to come late. You're afraid of people running a joke with the boss about just.
No, Jay, we're still afraid to come late. We're screechy in when we're late.
No, we just like the spirit. I just love the spirit in your studio, man. Real good. Keep it up. Mr. Hughes is phenomenal.
That he is.
Always on par. I laud him for that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Brooks.
Yes, sir. Ma'am.
I cannot differentiate you on George Davis' voice.
Oh, no. No, man. George is leaps and bounds ahead. Thank you, though.
You guys have a good night, yeah?
All right, Jay. All right. Thank you.
Take care, Jay.
Carl.
Evening, Ricardo. Evening, Matthew.
What are going?
Good evening.
Carl, what going up at Clarendon? The news not come out yet?
No, man. It's soon.
That take long, man.
Remember saying that you have to make sure everything is well fine first.
I see.
Put out things.
All right.
You can't do like Bunting and the lady from Montego Bay. Just see it. And she just jump on it. There was a lot of people that tell us that if PMP should have win, or you make a cabinet out of what you have.
Yes, I recall you saying that. And yes, I see. Yeah, I couldn't. It would be difficult.
You're really clock now. There hardly nothing is there to make a cabinet.
Oh, dear. Wow.
Nothing. Well, anyhow, Mr. Hughes,
yes, God.
Blame Bunting much over his foolishness, I think, last night. Please remember that if you should follow what the comrades them was saying, is Andrew thief you send both money. Remember I said that was the biggest argument around. Up to Thursday, I heard it inside my vehicle. And I have to look around and the two person that was talking and say, clip me head and say, look at those stupid person. So, you see, the Prime Minister was invited now by Usain Bolt to give something at a father funeral. The PMP them shock out of them wins yesterday.
And then vex. No, they're not vex, them vex.
Because the reason why Mr. Golan couldn't invite it, then don't serve if he's a citizen of Jamaica, so you couldn't invite him at the funeral.
Carl, you were going so well. Bumped you, man.
So you couldn't invite a dual citizen at a federal like that.
All right, we're running out of time. Come, give me your 2 good news announcements. Come, we're running out of time. Give me your 2 good news announcements.
Anyhow, Ricardo, take this thing for joke, Ricardo. Me asked you last week.
Yes.
Give me a shadow cabinet outside here.
Me want to ask you a question. Why wouldn't you settle Central Clarendon yet with Mike Henry seat?
Mr. Hughes, I will answer you promptly right now.
Yes.
I tell, if I don't remember Ricardo and you, that neither Joel nor Federman should have got the seat. So that's clear there, sir.
Oh?
And Mr. Samuda's seat up in a Kingston there, Steve Wright to get the seat. I don't know what is wrong with the Jamaica Labour Party. It's like some of the time, let me say something, I mean, not that I will get beaten tonight. It's like we want to go into opposition, like we're tired.
Yes. So who should I get Mike Henry seat?
We don't know yet, but none of the two.
Yeah, he did say that. Yes.
None of
to
the
be
two.
fair to Carl, yes, he had said that from the very beginning.
So who is Christopher Henry, who I hear is one of the 2 who have applied now?
I don't hear anything from him yet, and I don't.
He has applied. Do you know him? Do you know of him?
No, it's the first I heard of him since today, and somebody else called me from the constituency today and asked me, what do I think? I said to the person, I have never met this person yet, like how I know Joel and I know Peter from Kingston. I met those 2 gentlemen. So I can't give a blessing for somebody which I doesn't meet. But something is fully, but neither Feder nor Joel should get the seat. Feder make a mess in Kingston. I don't see him should get the seat in Florida.
Yes.
And as a labor right like me, you hear me come to is not the first side of it.
Yes. Because normally you dodge my question.
Yes, I'm not dodging it. Neither Feder nor Joel must get the seat.
Okay.
But you're
Joel
sure
must
that...
Joel must remain as the mayor. Feder must go back into Kingston and remain as a councillor and the deputy mayor of Kingston and St. Andrew. If you can take a good look at all the criminality that is going on into the KCC,
yes,
spend more time there.
All right.
So
Carl.
I hope Wednesday morning we'll get some good news out of the meeting that is keeping tomorrow night at Belmont Road.
What meeting is that tomorrow night?
Concerning clearing up these few seats, both Ardisha and
selection committee,
Mike Henry and Carl Samuda.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Oh, all right.
Wednesday morning we should hear something different.
Oh, okay.
But none of the 2 should get the seat. But
all right.
Let me ask you a question. You can't really let me someone.
What's that?
Give me a shadow cabinet fee come right now.
All right. So Mark Golding is Prime Minister, Defense Minister.
Well, let me sit down. Hold on. Let me drop. Let me stand up. Let me sit down first. All right. Me lean up on post it. Go on now.
All right. Angela Brown Burke is Local Government Minister.
No, Foreign Minister.
Minister of Handcart.
Please be serious, Cliff. Local Government Minister and Dr. Angela Brown Burke.
Peter Bunting.
No, we wouldn't give Peter Bunting national security again. That wouldn't be a good sign.
Finance.
Perhaps. You could,
so what you do with Julian?
Julian could perhaps go to energy. No,
that's Paul Well.
Ooh.
Industry and commerce.
Perhaps. Okay, yeah. Who else do we have? Dawes gets health.
Yes. Anthony Hilton.
Anthony Hilton should not be reappointed to any cabinet.
Oh, Lord.
I think Burchell could take information. Yeah, maybe with youth.
Nikisha Burchell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Denise Daly.
Oh, no. Labor and Social Security.
All right, no. Ricardo. So long as you have struggles to find somebody.
Yeah, I'd have to. I'll think it through. I'll think it through and come with the list.
That's to show you how bodies think.
No, I don't think so. I just haven't given it thought. You put me on the spot.
Yeah, go and get some cardboard and say you can't enjoy it.
You haven't named Dayton yet, you know. Dayton for agriculture.
You could have named Dayton as a minister of cutting out people.
I suppose you could take agriculture.
Anyway, thank you very much, Carl.
All right.
You put him on the spot. Yeah? You went about halfway, just over halfway. Yeah?
No,
You have a cabinet
Quite
there.
a way to go, man.
You have a cabinet
Has
there.
been a name education yet, been a name foreign affairs yet.
So you not get them an education?
Absolutely not.
Oh, no. Why not?
I think it requires steadier hands, more sober thinking. But the senator would have a role in the cabinet, would have a portfolio, but not education.
Not education.
We're out of time.
All right. That's how we're going to leave it. Thank you so much to our callers, our YouTubers, yes, our WhatsAppers and our tweets. Our producer, Dana Davis, she has a new hair spoiled today.
It look good.
Yeah. And, of course, we want to say thanks to the members of the news and production team led by our editor, Cara Powell. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks.
Reminding you, take care of your loved one and look out for your neighbor. Good night.
Good night.
A mother's journey of love shared from